Okay, I just want to make sure it's not my phone, honey. I think it's your Obama Boost Mobile.
That's true. You know what? It's tough out here. I could use maybe the community could crowdfund me a new phone.
I don't know, because well, no, because there's no tariffs on the technology. So, um, let me see something. How
How,
everybody on YouTube?
how does it sound now? Is it
I
better?
don't know when you talk. When you talk, it's staticky.
How about now?
Now it sounds better. Okay, so do you got those plug-in microphones or something that you plug in your phone and it's in your ear?
Yep.
Well, maybe you. I don't know. Maybe you touching that microphone. I don't know, honey. But get it together.
All right. I'm going to use just the phone now.
No, now it sounds fine. Hi, D, Black Idaho. Hi, Sorta, Will, C, Capone. Guys, please retweet. So, and hi to everybody on YouTube. Hello, Mel. Hi, everybody on YouTube. It's early. Honey, I made me a fabulous Sunday dinner. Yes, I did. It came out delicious. I had made some um, beef rib tips and the 7 grain lentil rice and some collards. But I do my collards differently. Instead of the turkey neck bone, honey, I put lamb neck bone. And I do collards, mustard greens, and turnips all together. Yes, it was delicious and healthy. I'm a good cook. Um, okay, you can hear me, hello, on YouTube. Great. So
Dana,
yeah,
what did you
so
pair that with? Did you pair it with a nice bottle of Chianti or a white? Would you pair it with?
I didn't pair with nothing. I do have bread. Maybe I go get a glass and sip on it.
Clean them greens in the bathtub.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
Okay, just making sure you one of us.
Yeah, I'm ADOS. I'm ADOS free, FBA, all that. David, David, honey, you be acting like you don't know nothing about the tariffs, but you be knowing all the tea, honey. So I got to hit you up this week to pre-record. um, so I wanted to talk about. I saw this title actually on YouTube, and I want to talk about it. Do Black conservatives overlook racism? Right? And on YouTube, the title was "Do Black conservative maybe it's the same damn title. Well, yeah, it is the same title, Overlook Racism, because a lot of people, well, Black people in general, they always look at quote unquote Republicans, Black Republicans, or Black MAGA, or Black conservative people that are Black conservative. They look at them as being coons or sellouts, um, or think racism doesn't exist. And many years ago, I used to think the same thing as well, but I've been stopped thinking that. And honestly, because I put a thumbnail on my YouTube, and it's a black guy, and he has Frederick Douglass on a T-shirt and a MAGA hat. And we need to remember as black people that black people, majority of black people, were all on the Democrat Party, especially the Frederick Douglass Republicans, which is a different. I think is a different type of Republicans of today. Now I'm pretty sure this space is going to evolve into other topics, as I did put hashtag Carmelo Anthony. And this is not just a black space, honey. White or what have you can all comment on this discussion. I don't play that tribalism game when it comes to having, intellectual discourse, mature discourse. Now, I did have to cuss out a couple of people the other day, and I make no crumbs about that, honey, because sometimes people need to be cussed the hell out, and I will do it again if need be. But see, I invite everybody that's in my DM. So even those same people, i.e., Indy, I still invited that person to come into the space, discuss your grievances if you have it with me or anybody else. Or just with black conservatives or black Republicans or black people who voted for Trump. And so I want to ask the question also, the Frederick Douglass Republican Party versus today's black conservatives, is it a difference? Is Trump a racist? I don't think he is. I don't know him personally, but from what I know of him, I don't think he is. The left versus the right, because this is basically what it comes down to: the left versus the right, Democrats versus Republicans. And are MAGA people who subscribe to MAGA, are MAGA people racist? You know, they're getting a bad rep, but people got to understand, and maybe that'll be next week Sunday, because MAGA is going to be the new political party of people. Now they may be Republican, but they're it's like MAGA supporters are somewhat separate from a regular Republican, and I think there is a difference, and I want to throw that out there too to discuss as well. And the racial divide, the race divide via Carmelo Anthony, because this is where all this is stemming from. This conversation that I want to have today. um, there is a racial component, which is why that particular case of Carmelo Anthony has went national. Tomorrow, is his first hearing. He terminated his first attorney, two attorneys, and he hired, I think it's Mike Howard or someone. He hired a new defense. I don't know why. I got to do a breakdown on that. What do you call that? New Generation Action Network is still speaking on the behalf of Carmelo Anthony family, but they have some strong ties to Jasmine Crockett and the Democrat Party. So I think it's going to be, that's a political element to it as well. But it's so cowardly that Jasmine Crockett, because that is her state, Texas, has not mentioned it. And she could mention it on both parties, not just one. Roland Martin, who is a Texas native and still live in Texas, he hasn't mentioned it on his media network at all. I really haven't seen any black media talk about Carmelo Anthony, unless it's an independent content creator, digital content creator such as myself and others. So what is the deal with that? So yeah, so listen, the floor is open. Please share out this space and request to come up. And everybody on YouTube, please share the video on YouTube and on your social media outlets. And if you want to donate, please do so. If you have a question, just put a Q in the comment section. So go ahead, Peter, and then we'll go to D.
Yeah, Dana. Good afternoon to everyone. Good evening, depending on where you are. In relation to his new attorney, I think I don't think I read that attorney is connected as counsel for Next Generation Action Network. I have to do some further due diligence and digging, which I'll do on the space here, but I'm pretty sure he's connected to them. And it looks like they're going to gear up to do a major fundraising push for his defense and, do the Al Sharpton grift thing off of this. So we could be seeing that coming in hot. As far as the title to the space, I think it comes down to identity politics, whereby Black conservatives are better equipped to be able to parse and see what the Democrats and other groups are doing to stoke the flames of racial tension. And the individuals who are usually on the Democrat side or liberals have really gotten drunk on the mother's milk of Maoism and communism. And if they would just read a few books on it, they would recognize that this is done by design to stoke the flames, cause disorder, and then have the government be able to step in and say, we'll now give you safety. You just have to give up a little bit more of your freedom. And so I think Black conservatives are better equipped to be able to deal with recognizing that and separating the wheat from the chaff, so to speak, from, a Jasmine Crockett compared to like a Clarence Thomas or another Black professional who is able to rise above that.
Okay. D. Hi. Happy Sunday.
Hey, happy Sunday. How was your weekend, guys?
Good. Hi, Mrs. Nicole. I like her on YouTube. Go ahead.
So I seen something because I was seeing a lot of posts about how the father was giving that people were coming to Carmelo's defense, and people were coming out as witnesses and this and that, and they were saying a lot of things about the father, but he wasn't there. Now I did see a good friend of Carmelo. I went on TikTok today because I don't even TikTok. I don't even know how to TikTok, but I do Facebook. So I was on Facebook and it led me to one of Carmelo's best friends who's Black, and he posted this was not, there was not bullying, there was no bullying involved. His mother posted for him too. The kid's mother, Carmelo's best friend's mother, was like, I was there. We were all there. There was no bullying. What's going on about Austin is not true. Everything that they're saying isn't true. I mean, again, this is just what they're saying, but they were saying they were there. And so I went down and clicked his page for myself to see if he really was a friend of Carmelo's. Of Austin's, and he has pictures up with him, and he was just like, I'm gonna miss you. He talked about his past, about how he was such a good kid, and how he showed him the ropes, and how Austin always told his this kid that was good friends of him, like, showed him how to be a good teammate. And then he was like sad because they had to play against each other in this past year. And he said he still had his back, even though they were on opposite teams. So that's really all I have to add right now.
So Carmelo's friend is actually throwing Carmelo under the bus?
No. It was Austin's friend. Sorry if I said Carmelo. It was Austin's friend. Came. I've seen it on Facebook. And then I went to TikTok because it was a video of a TikTok. So I was like, let me just go and see myself. So I went to the kid's TikTok, and he was friends with Austin. And he was saying that everything that they're saying is not true. I was literally right there. And the kid's mother wrote, "It's true. This is my son. I know Austin, and that what they're saying about him is not true. I was right there. We witnessed the whole entire thing." And they're saying that everything they're saying about Austin is not true.
It's interesting, because I was in a space. Go ahead, Dan. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
I was in the space pretty much all weekend over the weekend with La Farma. He did like a marathon space. Shout out to him for doing that. But they were going over each and every component and then breaking down the interview that the father gave to the news and then that Hunter gave to the news. And he really did a pretty good analysis going over each different part and the body language and the tonal inflection of the father. But it is true that the father was not there, right? So it was hearsay what he heard, which would be inadmissible. But Hunter's testimony is going to be very important, and I imagine all the other 17 people that are on that witness list in the police report too, to be able to pull out their cell phone information and any metadata we have. Now, we also know that there was no fight before. There's been so much information. But it came out from the Next Generation Action Network spokesperson that these two people did not know each other. Carmelo and Austin did not know each other at all. So it totally quashes the argument that a week earlier, they were involved in a fight or altercation at a house party. But yeah, I was in a couple of spaces like that, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow if the bail or bond does get lowered, which I think it will, and then the positioning of what we're going to see as far as defense strategy.
Also, I thought it was interesting that because I heard some of his space, I didn't hear the whole 32 hours, but I was in it in the beginning, and then I had to leave because they were getting mad at him. There were like two girls getting mad at him for giving me the opportunity to speak, and then they said I shouldn't be speaking. So I was like, all right, whatever, I'm gonna just leave. So but I think it's interesting that all these spaces that they're running, but they're not actually talking about his black peers that are coming out, Austin's black peers that are coming out in Austin's defense. And none of those, and none of his spaces. And I seen La Farmer, he posted he replayed the father speaking over and over, like if he was Funk Master Flex, and he literally played it over and over, and like rewinds, repeat. So I know for sure he he's not doing any research on Austin's friends and who his peers are. But I don't know how to put anything in the nest because again, I'm new to this. But I'm gonna send it to you, Peter, who this kid is, and you guys could look him up for yourself. So I'm gonna mute my mic and I'm gonna send whatever information I find to Peter because I don't know how to do the nest.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for tomorrow as well because tomorrow evening when me and the judge do the show Monday night on YouTube, we're definitely going to be talking again about Carmelo Anthony and just really staying on top of, to see where this case where it goes. And then also I am going to look up the different witnesses who have come out. I have not done that yet. So yeah, whatever you got, please send it to Peter so he can share it. Also, so let me incorporate the Black conservative talk, right? Because when you, i.e. Carmelo Anthony, because even on social media and YouTube, people on YouTube who are Black conservative, they are not siding with Carmelo Anthony. It's actually the opposite. They're either trashing Carmelo Anthony, calling him a murderer or a thug, and then also trashing Black culture. And that's kind of what I'm saying when we see these Black conservatives of today, especially younger people, as opposed to more seasoned or older Black conservatives, or i.e. Republicans, who's been lifetime Republicans. Is a different type of mentality. So do Black conservatives overlook racism? Some do, and I would say the younger generation, yes. If I'm looking at media or and what people post on social media, but from the older generation who have always been Republicans, no, because the general consensus about Black people and their politics, conservative or not, Black people as a whole has always been a conservative group of people in general. But for the emphasis on political parties such as Republican, um, lifelong Black Republicans, they know racism still exists, right? They don't deny that. They know about white supremacy and systemic racism, but the difference is they don't let that deter them from pushing through and succeeding on what they want to get done. Successful people, Black successful people, normally do not, which is why they become successful. But the Democrats play on Black people to keep them in a victim mindset. That is a fact. To whereas a Black Republican, i.e., conservative, will say, just get up and get out there and get it done. Pull yourself by the bootstraps, because in 2025, yes, we do have boots and we have the straps. It was a time where we did not. I wasn't born then. However, so there is a difference, because no matter who you are, what religion, what background, you got to work your ass off here in America to be successful. That nothing is going to be handed to you, right? Unless you are a trust fund baby. However, successful Black Democrats slash liberals, for them to be successful, they did not let racism deter them or distract them, but they play on racism to Black people to stay in a victim mindset so that they can still progress on that narrative. As opposed to the Black Republican, they don't do that. That's how I see the difference between the two. And also, as far as Carmelo Anthony, the newer, younger generation of these Black conservative, Black Republicans, it does seem like they are anti-Black culture, but a lot of them don't really represent foundational Black Americans historically, and I think that is a difference as well that comes into play. So I'm gonna get to Disrespect and the Black and Carrie. Go ahead, Disrespect.
How you doing, Dana? I
Hey.
agree with you 1,000,000%. So what you find is, and I've been kind of in the Black Republican space for a little while. What you find is you have people who are actually conservative, and they're just, they don't believe in a lot of the left-leaning policies, and they just there for, um, for political reasons. Then you have people who are there because they want to be seen as that quote unquote elite class, right? So they demonize anything that resembles Black culture, good or bad, right? And they'll purposely misrepresent. In other words, they tend to feed into those negative stereotypes instead of providing a level of clarity that they can bring. They use their Black skin to be a talking point for the people that really hate our culture. You take a look at Matt Walsh. They the ones who stirred this up. They brought race into this. If they didn't do that, it would have simply been two teams having an altercation at a track meet and something went horribly wrong. And in the conversation, we're like, why are teen youth so violent? Because right now, as a kid, 17-year-old in Wisconsin just murdered his parents to fund an assassination attempt against the president. But that's not getting nearly as much traction as this story because there's no boogeyman here. So they'll feed into that. They'll take the Carmelo Anthony situation and they'll say, hey, this is a kid who was corrupted by hip hop / black culture. Instead of saying, hey, this is a kid who's been affected by bullying. It just depends on who it is.
Yeah. Are you still talking? Oh, you were done. Can you hear me? Disrespect?
I think your mic is out. Disrespect. Yeah, we'll have to. Well, we'll cycle you down. Come right back up.
Yeah, come back up because I didn't. It sounded like it cut off, and then I wanted to make sure like did he finish or did it something with the mic? Okay, here he goes. Let's see. And maybe can you hear us? Disrespect.
Yeah, I can hear you. What was the last thing you heard me say?
Okay. You were comparing about the Wisconsin teen that killed his
Oh, yeah.
parents?
A 17-year-old kid murdered both his parents in a plot to start a race war with the insurance money, I'm assuming. I don't know. I didn't read all the details of it because you know what I saw? I saw a dumb kid doing something stupid and extreme. And I think if they had viewed the Carmelo situation the same way I viewed that situation, everything would have been cool. But they do these things for clicks, not realizing what they're doing comes at the detriment to American society. Because there are people who actually believe that Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro are their thought leaders. So when they place these ideas inside these vulnerable disenfranchised people's heads, they tend to believe them. So if we decide, we have to decide, all right, where do we want to go? Do we want to say self defense is a thing? Do we say bullying is bad? Or do we demonize people based on how they look versus what they did? And you start to see with them, it's not necessarily what you do, it's who you are. And this is a problem. If you realize during the election time, during Trump, when all the white people were supporting Trump, you saw accounts like N Woke with the Ian Miles Chain guy, Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro. They stopped posting black people bad videos. They didn't post a single black fight or nothing like that. You know why? Because they were told, "Hey, chill out. We're gaining these points. If you guys do this, it might damage our our perception of the party with these votes." And you know what? They chilled out. But now the election's over, they're going right back to it. And in about 6, 7 months, they're going to stop doing it because midterms will be here. So we have to realize this is all content for them. They don't actually care what happens because if they did, their thought process would be consistent across the board. I understand the laws are different in every state. But Kyle Rittenhouse traveled across state lines, shot 3 people, and got off on it. Now, was it self defense? I think so. But, circumstances, right? What were you doing there? You shouldn't have been there, right? And that would have been the case. Now, if you take the same with Carmelo Anthony, was he being bullied? Seems like it. Did he stab somebody? Yes. Was he supposed to be there? No. So it's like, do we apply that same logic all across the board or only where it benefits? So for them, it's about the clicks. It's not about justice, not what's right. It's about what gets them the most views. But that's all I want to say. Thank you so much for having me, Dan.
Disrespect, real quick. I don't know that that's accurate. That Carmelo wasn't supposed to be there, or Austin and Hunter, right?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? Even if we go off of that basis, and I agree with you, if anytime the school puts on an event and see people notice, if it's a citywide school or statewide event, all the kids are allowed to be everywhere. That's the thing. And if you ever ran track, you would know that. You compete against he's a senior, if I'm not mistaken. Anybody who's played any sport in high school for 4 years, you start to learn the teams that are in your conference because you play against them every single year. And if you're a multiple sport athlete, you start to notice there's a guy from Ford City, we called him Bullet. He was so fast. I talked to him at the football games, I talked to him at track meets, and I talked to him at basketball games. I knew this guy. Sometimes at the conference meets, we would sit together and talk about who's going to win what race. So we don't know what their relationship was like. But if we remove the nuances from it and say that everybody had a designated tent, nobody, even if we do put it that way, does that give you the right to do anything to anybody who's not supposed to be where they're supposed to be? Even if you're in your own house, there's certain laws you have to follow when defending your own home. We know this, but they expect a 17-year-old kid to not know this, to know this. And they treat that 17-year-old kid like he's a 35-year-old man. And I would say that to the guy that murdered his parents. I would say that for Kyle Rittenhouse, and I would say that for Carmelo Anthony, because at the end of the day, it's all about what is right and what is wrong. But that's not how they view it. Again, like we're looking at two different things. We're looking at it from a morality standpoint. They're looking at it for the intention. It doesn't get much attention if it's two black kids. It doesn't get much attention if it's two white kids. But if it's a black and white kid, you can spin it to turn to something it's not. Not realizing the kids may not even be seeing it that way. But
Right.
that's another story for a different day.
And let me ask you a question real quick. So, from the information that you've seen thus far, and your your analysis of it, do you think, or how do you feel? Do you think that Carmelo was justified in escalating and using deadly force in this situation?
Well, see, here's my take on it. I'm a former soldier. I have combat training. So when I look at these kids who are civilians who don't have combat training, who doesn't understand, hey, the full, how can I put this right? They do things, but they don't understand what those actions might bring. You see what I mean? So it's like when I look at this, it's like, okay, did he panic? See, I don't know the full story. See, and then that's another thing. We should actually wait for all the details to come out. Because guess what? What if it comes out that, I mean, this is hypothetical. We did this before, Peter. What if it comes out that Austin had a night too? Then what? Right? Then it turns into something else. And everybody who made all these assumptions looks stupid. So I would like to wait for all the facts to come out. But from what I read in the police report, I'm seeing two different point of views from the police report. You was there, we read it. Pete, we saw two different point of views. So we don't know what happened. We don't know what they're going to side with. I just think that we all should probably sit and wait before we start making these choices and these decisions. Because if we don't, then we add more fuel to the fire. Because if it comes out that Carmelo Anthony wasn't justified, then everybody who's going so hard for him looks foolish. If it turns out he was justified, then what? They're not going to issue an apology. Neither side is going to apologize for it. All they're doing is raising tensions for the next event.
I love it.
Right.
Reasonable, wise, prudent, and good analysis. We'll wait for it.
Yeah, and I think that people, and then the discussion is going over, was it self-defense, or was it, or wasn't it, instead of conflict resolution, what's going on with teenagers, how could this have been prevented? So yeah, that says a lot about
Can
us
I
as
can
a
I add one more
society.
thing real quick, Dana? I'm sorry to
Uh-huh.
be quick about this. Violence amongst teenagers have been rising steadily. And the
Hmm.
biggest violence that's rising amongst teenagers is self-inflicted violence. These kids are the self-deleting at a high rate. Violence, we worried about the wrong thing. If we get to the point where these kids see the only way out is taking their lives at 16 and 17 because of the Instagram comment, then we're failing the kids. And this only feeds into that. So I think you're right. We need to focus on violence in general, because they're harming themselves.
Right. Absolutely. I want to get to the Black and Carrie. Roland, honey, I'm not bring you up because I believe you are a troll because your account is private and I don't have time on this. This is Palm Sunday, honey. I believe. Yes, honey, I am a Christian. This is Palm Sunday. Don't play with me today. Um,
You could
Retweet the
unblock,
space, y'all. Retweet the
unblock, and
space.
make your page public, and then we'll see, and then we'll bring you up because we're not in the mood for it today. Jesus rode in on the donkey today, and you know what's going to happen in a week. So
go ahead, the
Retweet
Black.
the space, y'all.
What's up with it, Dana and Peter? Carrie and D can go before me. It
Okay, go
is
ahead,
Sunday. I can
Carrie.
be
Oh,
still
that's
at work.
cool. Go ahead, honey. Go ahead. I'll wait.
so polite. You see how polite these spaces are that we run, Dana? I mean, it's incredible.
Peter, honey, that is true, but you do go in people's spaces starting shit sometimes.
All right,
So
Peter.
it's good. It's a good fight, but you do be starting stuff. Go ahead, D.
You know,
And
I got to
anybody
put it
want to
in,
request to come up, please do so.
put the battery in everything. So.
So just to I just wanted to comment to disrespect, no disrespect, but he said something about he panicking. I don't know if that's going to play out in court because he basically said touch me and see what happens. So I don't know if that's going to play out in court. I mean, he that's not you don't say something like that if you're panicking. um but again, I just find it really interesting that in so many of these spaces, nobody has mentioned any of Austin's Black peers who've come to his defense. And there are many of them. And they're all saying the truth is going to come out. And they're saying it on if you go to Austin's Instagram, his real Instagram, you can filter there's thousands of really hateful stuff towards him, right? Like another white dead kid. We need more white dead kids, right? So like if you filter through those, you'll notice like there's his actual peers coming to his defense, and these people, they're adults. There are adults going against these kids, saying, "Oh, you're a traitor." You're like they're calling them names. They're calling these kids names because they're Black and they're going against a Black person. And it's crazy how this turns into such a race thing when the father on the first day he came out and did an interview and said, do not make this about race or political or anything political, because it's not. And I just think that who made it about that? How did this get into such a black and white
You
thing?
just
You know
did it
what?
though.
Let me say this real quick, because you're right. Because I'm saying, well, why didn't Jasmine Crockett mention this? Maybe she hasn't mentioned it because, yeah, you don't want to make it political, like the father did say.
And
But you
then it's not
can't
in her district.
control people on the internet, huh?
Can I respond
It's
to her,
not in
please?
her
Go
district.
ahead.
All right, so just to be clear, you just made it about race. You pointed out the kids are black. Why can't they just be kids? See,
Well,
you guys
because
do this, and then you guys say, "Well, listen, I label them as two."
I didn't make it about race. I'm saying I found it interesting that in all of these spaces that they're talking like
Ma'am,
bad,
when you mention the
they're making it
kids,
about
I
race.
know,
when you
but
mention the
see,
kids on
did
the
you
Instagram,
see?
what
I'm
did you say?
sorry.
When you mention the kids on Instagram,
Okay,
how do you
so
describe those kids?
I said I find it odd that in all of these spaces that I've gone into,
I'm talking about his
the
Instagram
only thing
comments,
that they're
ma'am.
not meant
Ma'am, you said, oh,
in his Instagram.
when you told his Instagram comments, you said the black kids on there that are his friends are X, Y, and Z. You made it about race when you did that.
But I'm saying that I'm not seeing these individuals post any of they're posting all these white folks showing how
Maybe
they're
make it about race again.
they're calling.
Yeah, well,
No, I'm
Yeah,
not.
but listen to
she's
what Dee's saying. Disrespect. Here's what she's saying, right? She's saying
No, I heard what she's saying, but I'm
the
just saying
spaces that
I'm
we
giving her
were
an
in
example
over
of
the
what
weekend.
what's.
Just go ahead.
No, I'm giving her an example of why it turns into this. I understand she doesn't mean it that way. Look, all right, when we did the space, right? Me,
I didn't make it about
hold
race.
on one
It's
second,
already been about
one
race.
second. D. Notice when me and Peter talked about it, we label them as kids because they're underage 18. They're not fully developed until they're 25. We see them as children doing stupid things, right? When we held the space, Peter was my witness. We never brought up these kids' races. We talked about what they were doing, right? And when you keep it in context of child A did this to child B, it turns into child A did this to child B. But when you start to say, oh, well, I went on his Instagram and I saw that the black kids were taking up for him and people were clowning the black kids. That is making it about race. Now, if you did want it about race, you would say, yeah, I went on his Instagram and they're even clowning the kids who were saying, this the truth's going to come out. Now, there is no race involved in that statement I just made. But when you say that, you force people to choose a side. Now, granted, everybody's not going to be smart enough to go back and read the police report. We literally had a space. It was 300 people in the space. And the other 300 people, myself, Peter, and the host, were the almost who actually read the police report. And it doesn't shock me that people aren't reading the police report. People are seeing, oh, white kid versus black kid. Oh, I'm going to take up for this side and that side. When I see the situation, I wasn't even going to comment on it because I thought it was stupid. I'm like, yo, these kids, and this again, my whole point is stopping kids from harming themselves. I have people in my family who have tried to self-delete at 16, right? Scariest shit in the world. So when I say, yo, these kids are trying to take their own lives and shit, that's my concern. So when you guys, as adults, we turn the conversation into what we see black kids comment and they heart. Listen, we see children commenting saying, hey, my friend was murdered. They don't give a fuck that he was white. They played football with this guy. They played basketball with him. They went over his house. They had
See,
sleepovers.
no, I
So when
agree
you
with
say,
that.
but no,
I
but
agree with
listen, when you
that.
say things like, I'm not saying you contributing to it because you just calling what you see. But when you point out the race, then it becomes, oh, she's just making this. Then you have that contention. But if you say, I say all children on there, and they say, well, what are the children like? Why race is a factor? Now, if you get people to look at the facts and not the race, then there's a whole other conversation to be had. That's all I'm pointing out. I'm just
so
saying,
basically
we have to be careful
Right.
how we
disrespect.
have this conversation.
So all I was trying to point out is that when I went into these spaces, I just find it very odd that it's so that their narrative is one way, and that's what I was trying to point out. So instead of doing all the research, they're only showing what they want their narrative to
Yeah,
be. That's what
that's
I'm trying to get to,
what
not
Dee was
because
exactly what Dee was saying, and how I saw it is they're only giving inculpatory evidence as to why Austin is the problem, and they're not giving exculpatory evidence, which would exonerate him. Right? They're not giving a true picture. They're doing what would happen at a grand jury, which is why a grand jury process is a farce because you can indict a ham sandwich because it's one sided. They don't give exculpatory evidence to the grand jury. They just literally present what they want the grand jury to see, and then the grand jury indicts, which is
Right.
what we're going to see.
It's like a lot of
No,
these.
that's
One
the fact.
second,
No, I'm with you,
disrespect.
Peter. I'm just pointing that out, though.
Wait, one second, disrespect. It's like a lot of these spaces and a lot of people on YouTube and other social media outlets. They're they're playing at the media, because the media, as we know, legacy media, ABC, NBC News, and nightly news, they create a narrative where it is one-sided. Fox News has a different side than ABC. So, and what is happening, and these are my peers. What is happening? Digital content creators, we're doing the same thing legacy media is doing, creating our narrative and the focus. Now, it did start with like the Matt Wash, the big time digital content creators. They made it about race. And of course, and it's fair that Black people know they're going to push back, as we should. But we do play into what media has always done, creating our own narrative. But you're absolutely right. It
But
do
Dana,
start with
you
us to change it. It starts with us to how are we directing this conversation, and it does. It starts with us. It
But
does.
Dana,
It
that's
does.
why we respect you so much because you don't go on here choosing sides. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm sure you're proud to be a Black woman, but you don't. That's not your identity. Your identity is this is what happened. Let's talk about what happened. I've even seen you tell people on Space before, keep it to the subject because that's all that matters. And again, is if we stop
Right.
talking about the subject, then it turns into something else. Then it's like, okay, well, if I don't say this because he's Black, then I'm a cool. No, 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 no. If motherfucker did something, excuse my language, somebody did something wrong, did something wrong. And to quote Malcolm X on this one. I'm for the truth, no matter who tell it. I'm for justice, no matter who is for or against. If the man did something wrong, he should go to jail for it. But I'm not going to sit
Right.
here and say
Absolutely.
I'm
But
not going to say he did something wrong. We don't have all the evidence. I'm not going to say Austin was in the wrong. We don't have all
right.
the evidence. What I'm saying is we should probably all sit back and wait for it to come out. That's my
Right.
whole answer from the jump.
No, no, no. Everything you said, I agree with you. Everything you said so far tonight. It's just that the topic, I did make a topic that is about race tonight.
Oh no, no, no.
So,
We're talking about the conservatives though, and that's a whole other
right.
ball
But
game
and
because they
and
will
just
use their race. I'm sorry.
right,
That's
and that's why I did hashtag Carmelo Anthony, because it's like, yes,
oh I didn't see that. My bad.
do black conservative overlook racism, right? And yes, but it seems like when it comes to Carmelo Anthony, certain black conservative with a very large following, they are trashing him. Not and then they're trashing black culture, right? And then I look at those conservatives. Well, to me, you're not a legacy Republican, black Republican. You're like the newcomer, right? But you're the newcomer that's trying to feel accepted with a certain group because you think you have to be accepted or whatever. So yeah, but that's just my stance on it.
But yeah, no, but for the record, I do definitely agree with what Dee is saying. I'm just trying to show her like, hey, we have to be careful how we frame the conversation because anybody can come behind you. For example, what you said is true. I've seen it myself. But the thing is, if you say something a certain way, you can have somebody who's not as enlightened as myself, Peter or Dana, and say, "See, why are you focusing on them?" You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, then it then turns into something else. Now you have to defend your observation versus the actual observation. Like, oh, why do you see it this way? Like, well, no, it's just an objective, verifiable fact. I saw this. And then instead of doing that, just keep it to kids. So that way they can't say anything. And then if they ask you, hey, go look at it yourself and you see it with your own eyes. That's why I told people about the police report. And Peter saw it. Like they wasn't even reading the fucking police. I had people up there saying they were actually telling us some shit about a fucking Facebook post. And I said, well, I heard he was a ninja training for Naruto training and it was a Death Star. Yeah. Oh, you heard that? No, motherfucker. You making up shit. Stick to the
But
police
ease
report.
off on the F, because this is on
I'm
YouTube.
sorry. My
Yeah,
bad.
ease off on the F.
I
Well, give me one
apologize.
second. I'm gonna go to talent. Give me one second. Atlas, I don't know if you're a troll or not. So let me just test. Let me test you out to see if you are. Because I did say that. Well, it looked like you requested. Is he up here?
He's requesting. Do you want me to bring him up?
Yeah. Why can't I bring him up? Because we're not full with we're not full.
I
Dana,
just
can I
tried
speak?
to. He's up now. He's on. He's on now.
Okay. So Atlas, who are you? Who are you?
Now he's gone.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
no, I haven't gone. I'm listening. I'm enjoying listening. Sorry, I'm listening. I'm a white guy from. I'm a gay man from.
All right. There's
Uh,
hands though. There's hands. So if you want to speak, you can go after the hands. You
no,
can go at
no,
the end of
I
the
didn't
queue.
want
Okay,
to
he got
speak. I
that
was.
wheelchair man voice.
Yeah, you sound weird. But anyway, go ahead, talent.
Yo, peace and love, peace and love. Happy Sunday. Shout out to the host, the co-host, everybody in the space. I'm gonna go with the topic at hand first. Do Black conservatives overlook racism? uh from what I've seen from quote, I wouldn't even say conservatives, I'll probably more say Black Republicans on this platform, it seems as though a part of the operating system on the right is to, ignore or downsize the history and or impact that racism has played in the collective impact on the Black American community. So I do often come across what sometimes seems to be a scapegoat of culture, as if that culture that could be attributed to hip hop or towards a specific generation is supposed to speak for everyone, right? My dad's 73. He is not a part of the harms of he's not a part of the culture that people will want to blame. But whatever it is that he's experiencing and demands from this country should exist regardless of the fact. So I do think that we are in a season where you know quote unquote Black culture, as if we have control over media apparatuses that perpetrate or create some of the status quos of our community. Some of that stuff has been weaponized, so I believe it's an easy scapegoat to say, look at the gangs, and it's like, well, that's a small percentage of the kids in the neighborhood. Let's focus on the other kids because there's people trying to work to fix that situation. So why not hyper focus on the areas, that seem to go underattended, which is kids in sports and kids in tech and stuff like that. But yeah, so there's an issue that I have with Black Republicans. As someone who's registered in New York as a Republican, somebody who leans a lot more right, is against all the liberal agenda, I still have a big disconnect because individuals who are Black on the conservative side downsize history too much to me. So that's the issue I have. Now, how that kind of manifests in a conversation around Carmelo Anthony, to me, you know, there has to be some self autonomy, some self defense, some sort of stand your ground that Black men can, exert at some point in time. We can't always just be villains, villains, or blaming the white man, or just violent, crazy folks. Three examples. In 2022, there was a Black kid who got stabbed up in a grocery store by an Arab man after he grabbed the Arab man by the shoulders and the neck. And the Arab man was able to get off on self-defense, and he worked in the store. And it was this Black man was violent. He came in there yelling, and he put his hands on this man's shoulders and necks. So he grabbed the knife and he poked him out. One example. Arab man gets to go away. Black man is the violent monster. You bad. Nope. It's your fault. You're dead. Then we go 2 years later to Jordan Neely, who is a homeless Black Michael Jackson dancer down on his luck. If you know New York, if you're a street vendor, once COVID got took over the inner city and shut things down, people that performed could not get on the train to perform. So he goes through what he goes through, ends up on the train at some point, and is screaming, hollering, saying he want to go to jail. Y'all know the story. He gets choked out by Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny raises $3.3 million for legal defense. It was money being raised for Daniel Penny before Jordan Neely. We even got some type of what is the DA gonna charge him? We didn't even know what the DA was gonna do, but they was already raising money, or money was already being raised for Daniel Penny. And in a situation like that, Daniel Penny, a homeless, Michael Jackson, mentally challenged or mentally disabled person, was able to get killed, and bravo to the white man. And in a situation like this, it's kids. One, I've had a pocket knife. I've had a Swiss Army knife. One of the cool things I used to love being a kid is writing my name on shit. I had a little pocket knife. I never thought about stabbing nobody, but being 17 with a little pocket knife, Swiss Army knife, is not too far fetched from me. I did play sports. I did live in Texas. I was also in ROTC. So I don't even know how racial it is for these kids at that point in time when their social environments is Black, white, Mexican. I lived in San Antonio, so I know, when I went to school, middle school and high school, I was around a lot of different type of folk as well as a lot of Black people. So we had white friends, all of that stuff, Mexican friends. So I don't know if these kids are looking at it the way adults are, but there's competition. Don't put your hands on nobody, and certain things can happen. And based on what I've heard in this situation, it seems as though the brothers, one of the ones that unfortunately lost their life. And I say unfortunately because I work with kids. I'm not gonna look for anybody to lose their life, especially for some nonsense that could have been avoided. Uh, I just think at some points in times, kids have an issue with putting their hands on each other. And that's just not a white issue, black issue. That's kids. I work with kids. Kids are often physical. Kids often want to put their hands on kids from a young age. You have to teach them proximity. Don't put your hands on nobody. Learn how to give people space. And in a situation like this, a messed up situation happened. People have been saying so many stories about if they did know each other, didn't know each other. All I can say is, unfortunately, in that situation, I would have preferred for them brothers to not approach that black kid and not make it. I would have preferred them kids to not touch that kid, and this situation wouldn't be what it is. So way before I look at it as a race-based thing, I just look at it as kids approaching another kid, and however that kid felt, the response was he stabbed them, fled the scene, and turned himself in, and here we are. So I'm gonna land here. There's so many ways that people have made this conversation. It's my first time actually speaking on it, and however long it's been happening, because everybody's making it about race. It's something that I know since I played sports and I lived in Texas too. You'll be friends with a lot of kids that's black, white. That shit ain't that deep, but don't play with me and I'm not gonna play with you. Give me my space and I'll give you your space. So some of it is also respect, boundaries, knowing exactly how to go get authorities if you found something out of order, but not taking it upon yourself to try to reprimand another kid. And that's something I make sure my kids don't. You don't tell these kids, no, you go get an elder, you get an advisor, you get a counselor, you get somebody to make sure that they step in, because the moment kids are trying to tell other kids what to do, you're going to have another kid saying, who gave you authority to speak to me that way? Or who told you you could tell me anything? And even that, with the same race of kids could still have an argument and a fight because one kid is trying to tell another kid what to do and they're not the authority. So I'm gonna land there.
Appreciate that. Yeah, and I agree with you. People are comparing this case to Kyle Rittenhouse or Daniel Penny, and I get it, especially with the Daniel Penny. But I think what everyone is overlooking when they do that is, I think one of the reasons why Daniel Penny got off was because um, um, Jordan Neely was, they said, behaving erratic, and then there were witnesses. To whereas with this case, Carmelo Anthony and Austin McCaff, and this is a great observation here. Where is the video? Because we don't know what happened. What was the buildup? And we should know something, some type of timeline. And it's pretty funny that there's nothing. So Daniel Penny, the other witnesses on that particular subway, were saying yes, he was acting erratic or whatever. No matter what people may feel about the outcome of it, the witnesses were saying yes, he was acting a certain way, right? Which kind of helped Daniel Penny get off on self-defense, or I guess he was defending himself and the people on that subway. But where is the video? Where is the actual, at least 5 individuals that gave their statement, and we could read at least a piece of that statement? There's none of that so far, and it's been over a week. So something is not right with this Carmelo Anthony. And one real quick, and this is a question people could answer throughout this space. Old Villa from the YouTube chat says, Dana, have you asked any of the people who agree with Carmelo actions if it was their child, would they want justice? And I thought that was a good question. So that question is on the table. Well,
Dana, can I jump in real
yeah,
quick?
and after you, we'll go to Carrie and then the Black and Art.
Perfect. Talon, I appreciate your submission. I wanted to go over the points that you raised very quickly. The case that you're talking about in 2022 was an individual named Jose Alba, a Hispanic gentleman, no criminal history prior. He was actually the grocer at the store. He was fending off an attack from this other individual who literally came in and started attacking him in a potential robbery situation. So he defended himself. He went to jail originally on Rikers. He was held on a $250,000 bail, which was only half of what the Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg demanded. He demanded 500,000 bail, despite surveillance video showing the clerk was being assaulted by the alleged victim in the bodega. And the name of the individual was Austin Simon, who was stabbed. Um, Totally, as far as I could see it, when looking at the video, it looks like self-defense, and I would imagine the city agreed as well. That's why they dropped the charges. In regards to the Jordan Neely event, I was just reading an article, and there was a 911 recording of this woman named Sanchez. Her name was, let's see, Yvette Rosario, and another woman named Sanchez. I can't find her first name, but she was saying that he's trying to attack everybody, and there's a white man holding him down, holding the homeless guy down. Now, Jordan Neely had 42 prior arrests, and four of those were for assault. So if anyone failed Jordan Neely, it was the city of New York, and it was the crazy policies the city of New York put in place that allowed homeless people to roam the subways, commit numerous offenses, and then get right back out on the street because of the bail laws. So I would put the onus on the city of New York, and if I was Jordan Neely's family, I'd be suing the city of New York for being derelict in their duty and not taking care of someone who's quote unquote mentally unstable. And the use of force was ruled justified and proportionate and reasonable by the jury, because Daniel Penny didn't use a deadly weapon. He literally put him in a restraint. And then Jordan Neely, I think Jordan Neely actually had a heart attack or had some other type of event where he had excited delirium. And I'll end there.
Um, okay, so Carrie, and then the Black, and then Art, Corey, and then I'm gonna swing back to you, Talent.
Okay, well, thank you, Dana, and hello, Peter, the Italian.
Sicilian.
But, oh, Sicilian. I dated an Italian, okay? But anyway, um, I just want to let you know that just hear me out, okay? I have a couple issues I want to say because after going over this the past weekend and observing from police reports and other spaces, I don't want to say that, but from other people, what I hear, but this is what I see, what they write. And um, number one, when this first came out, I am so tired of this black, white issue that when it came out that, uh, what's his name? Carmela, killed Austin, it didn't say black guy killed white guy, like the media would say. In the Texas papers, the only thing it said was, the names. It didn't say black or white because that's how it should be. The media is the one that starts that bullshit. And then I heard and I saw after I received a response from Dana, I think it was 2 nights ago, and I responded, and then I saw, I'm not sure if y'all saw this, but this is very bad. It's incriminating that, well, number one, if he files, if Carmela files self-defense, that means he can get up to life in prison, okay, regardless what age he is. If he does a plea deal, that's why I'm looking forward to talking to the judge, then that could change, okay? And the
Carrie, let me
bloody
let me stop
knife,
you. Let me stop you. It's 5 to 99 years. There's no life in prison or death penalty on the table because of Roper v. Simmons, a
well,
2005 case
isn't
from the Supreme
99
Court.
years life?
Well, no,
Texas,
because
but
life has certain implications as far as how much time you have to serve before you could be paroled. So that's the distinction.
Okay,
and Texas
cool.
has what is called capital murder, so he's not being charged with capital murder.
I know, but all I'm saying is if they say self-defense, the poor child, if he doesn't win, he's going to get boom, boom, the maximum, okay? Whatever that is. But if he says, yeah, I accidentally did that, then it's a different story. And I didn't know that. And that's what I heard from a cop from Texas. Okay, that was on some space I was on a long time ago. I mean, whatever. Apparently, I got yelled at one time when I said something when I was on a space, and another space said that, and they said to me, "You don't do that," you know. I mean, I really got shit on for that. Anyway, when they came out in the papers, that's all I'm saying. It just said kids, just the kids. It didn't say black, white, like the media. Like they promote this bullshit, like the wars and all this. They love it, and you know, I don't get it. I mean, I came from Pennsylvania. I live in Texas. I have black friends, and it's just bullshit. And the thing is, unfortunately, someone died. Okay. But like I said before, I would not, and honest to God, I would not put the other child in prison for life because that's wasting a life because his GPA is like really good, you know? And I wouldn't do that as a mother. I mean, it's sad all around how you look at it, but sometimes people forget there was someone that died from it, you know? And and then after I responded the other day, it brought me to a video of Carmela in jail with his mother. And his mother is saying, uh, what is it going to take for you to stay away from those hoodlums or whatever, you
That
know?
wasn't Carmelo.
It wasn't? Yes, it was, girl.
No,
No, it
that was
wasn't,
another.
Carrie.
I'm
Really?
sorry, Carrie. We all
Oh
look
my
alike, but
God.
no, 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 Carrie.
No, that's not fair. That's terrible. Whoever said that, that's not
I
right.
did.
Carrie,
I
I
did.
could have
Corey was
sworn.
joking with you. He's breaking your chops.
I know, but I could have sworn that was that kid. I'm telling
Carrie,
you.
you have to be careful. The AI nowadays can make anything look like anything. You really have to be careful where you're sourcing your stuff from because there's a
Well,
lot.
I did not repost that because I thought it doesn't need to be reposted. I left it alone, but I was so shocked when I saw that because it made the kid look like he was hanging out with some bad dudes after work, yada yada yada. And so if that's presented to the jury and then with a knife, you know, they said that the child threw the knife, but then they said they found the knife and they covered it. I just think it's so much speculation right now and it's just crazy. And I wish we had just wrote back, but the bottom line is there's two kids here that are gonna get screwed regardless, because he's gonna do time. You know it. And here in Texas he's gonna do time. And because he killed another person with a knife. And it doesn't say in the police report, and go ahead, get on me, but it doesn't say in the police report that he was being bullied or anything like that. So it was just one against one, and it said, "Hey, you're not supposed to be underneath this tent. Uh, leave." And all of a sudden, all this shit breaks out. Okay. And I think it's just ridiculous. Like I told Judge Brown, I always gave my kids knives, meaning pocket knives. I never told them to use it for self-defense, but hell, if I had a kid today, I would teach him self-defense, period. Martial arts, to be honest, because the school system ain't fucking gonna protect you,
Carrie, just
you
watch the
know?
F word, and we're going to ask you to land if you can in the next 20 seconds.
What?
We're going to ask you to finish up your.
Did you say to
We're
me?
ask you to finish up your submission if you can in the next 20 seconds.
Well, you're the first one I've ever heard say that to me. I'll just stop it then.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. That was
Thank you
Screw
for
wonderful.
your
you.
rambling.
You,
Let
I mean,
let's go.
But let Carrie finish. Let her finish. Let her finish. Are you go ahead, Carrie? Finish up, Carrie.
I never heard Peter say that to anyone else except to a white woman. And that's what pisses me off about Peter. You know,
Well, you
I
do.
Did you
mean,
I
just
am
did you
racist
really
against
just make
white
this
people.
about
previous
I'm
race?
leader,
extremely
I'm
So
racist.
did
out
you
of
really just
there.
make this about race and then the fact that you're a woman? That's crazy. You made it about
No,
the fact that
no,
you're a
we're
white
Howard,
not
stop
woman.
gonna. No, we're not
misgendering
gonna
her.
jump on Carrie. We are not. We're not. We're not gonna push back on Carrie. Carrie, I want you to finish your statement. Carrie, Carrie,
Forget it.
I just stay there for a second. Carrie, stay there for a second. Stay there. Um,
I think the black was next, right,
yes,
Dana?
the black.
The black, you got to come off your mute. The black going once, going twice. All right, let's go to Art. Art, are you there?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the black. Art, yeah, Art, Corey. Who was that retard? Then I'm between the talent. Art.
Yeah, Art's not there either. All right, let's go to Corey. Then we'll go to retard, then talent. Corey, you're up.
All right. Now just to answer the question, the title of the room: Do black conservatives overlook racism? No. Um, and I'm only speaking for myself, right? I'm speaking for the fact that um, I sit down and analyze cases, right? And this hasn't even went to trial yet. We already have our Monday morning quarterback. Um, we already have all of these so-called rumors or so-called facts to be true that we're gonna take them and run with them, argue with them. We made it, and here's the thing: we all made it about race. Now um, you have the Groypers and the 1488 and the white nationalists that's mad and saying that a black kid stabbed a white kid and it turned it into something. Then you had the FBAs and ADOS and whatever other parts of the community that came back and said, well, it was about this. And now we got the warring factions going back and forth and arguing on the online and hasn't even seen any discovery yet, hasn't even went to trial, hasn't even, no one has pleaded out or have said that they're going to stick it out and fight it. But all of a sudden, we already have a verdict. This is the court of public opinion again. The same sentiments that I have for this case, he's innocent till proven guilty in the court of law, right, is the same thing I had for Travis Rudolph down in Florida, another black man to be the case. The same thing I had for Marcus Allen Weldon in Detroit, another black man that defended himself. By the way, the people that he shot, he got charged with a murder and attempt murder. The people that he shot, they weren't even black. They were Arabic or Muslim, I think, whatever. Um, so we pick and choose, and then all of a sudden this comes across our desk, and it's all about race. It was two people that had a falling out, a clash. One was wrong. One is going to have to atone for it, and we're going to see what the punishment may be or may not be. If he beats it, he beats it. I don't think so. Right? Just looking at what's on the police report now, I don't think so. But one thing that happens when you disagree with the mob, when you disagree with the mob, you're kind of reluctant to talk to the mob because all of a sudden you're called out your name, you're given a label, you're called this racial epithet, right? You're actually mocked into coming back home, or you're bullied in a sense to say to agree with me, and if you don't, then I will call you names, talk all type of shit, and they get death threats. Um, you will get all type of threats, and it's just a simple disagreement, right? Because we look at it different, right? Same way I look at Marcus Allen Weldon, Travis Rudolph. There was another fellow in Florida that defended himself from police officers. Ahmaud Arbery, his killers were guilty. So what if they were white? They were guilty. They were wrong in their actions. They were not police officers at that time. That's why they are in jail. That's why they were found guilty. Um, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend at the time, I didn't think he was guilty because of the simple fact of a no-knock warrant. And then when we talk about no-knock warrants, everyone makes it simple, makes it seem as simple as that it's very simple to get a no-knock warrant. You have to have a lot of evidence and a lot of it's a lot that goes into no-knock warrants more than what we think it is. Now to get a regular warrant where you do have to knock, um, that's not as extensive as a no-knock warrant. But then again, because of misinformation and the belief of what other people say, we think that this is an everyday occurrence. Um, it's not because, like I said, the brother in Florida, he beat his case because he shot a police officer and wound up beating that case. That what they got him for was being a felon with a gun. So I can't remember how many years he got. I would have to look that case up. But this case after case where people are making it more about race, and I still don't understand the correlation that people are trying to say that are trying to have with Kyle Rittenhouse when he shot three white dudes, right? And that they want everybody wants to call it self-defense. He shot three white dudes. He shot two pedophiles, a guy that wasn't even supposed to have his gun, and he didn't even take the first shot. And a lot of people don't know the facts of that case because he didn't take the first shot. So, we'll see what's going to happen with this space. All right, thank you. I'll land there.
Appreciate you,
Thank you.
Corey.
Yeah. Um, who was next? Talent?
I am.
It was retard then
No,
talent.
The
retard.
retard
Sorry.
Yeah.
before me.
Yes.
Yo, real quick, I just wanted to say shout out to Peter for clarifying those cases because people like to come up and just out of context, he's like, oh, that those guys got off, the Arab got off, or Daniel Penny got off because those guys were black. No, the Arab got off because of self defense. Daniel Penny got off because of self defense, who was defending blacks, whites, Asians on the southern. Corey, I beg to differ. He shot that dude because Kyle Rittenhouse shot him, fired the first shot because he he had a pistol pointed at him when he fired the first shot. So that's immediate threat. So he had the right
No,
to
no, no.
self
But
defense there.
what you're talking about Gage groups and courts. That
Yeah.
was after they chased him. What I'm talking about before then, not Gage. I'm talking about before Jesse Rosenbaum jumped out and tried to chase him, tried to grab his gun. There's a guy
Somebody
by the
shot in
name
the
of
air, right,
Josh.
Corey? Somebody shot into the
Yeah,
air.
there's a guy by the name of Joshua Zeminski. The prosecutor didn't call him. He actually had a case. I think he lost that case. I think he's serving time right now for the fact that he took that shot in the air and that was a gun that he wasn't supposed to have. So that's what I'm talking about. Before all that, there's a whole
Okay, I
timeline.
didn't know that one
Right.
before that. But yeah, I land there. I don't want to ramble like Carrie, so go ahead to the next person.
Honey, how you want? Don't take a shot at Carrie like that. Don't do that.
I'm just messing.
So, um, talent.
Hey, peace and love. I'm gonna introduce a word that I don't really know is used online, and this is kind of why I fell back from this situation. A lot of this humanity, right? I approach things with a lens of humanity. And I look at things first as a human, way before I think about race and history and trauma and the injustices of black people and all of that stuff. I look at it from a humanity situation, right? So in the first situation that I mentioned about the black brother getting stabbed up in the store, after there was a complaint from his lady that the Arab man in the store disrespected her over something with a card or a transaction at the machine, something he may have snatched a bag of chips, or I don't know, something happened that was a part of the story that led to this black man coming into the store very upset about the Arab man and whatever disrespect he had played towards the black woman. Or the how about this? The lady wasn't even black. I think it was a Spanish lady, Spanish girl, and the kid. Black man ran up in there, turned up, upset at whatever happened, put his hands on this Arab man, grabbed him by the neck, like grabbed him by, not even like choked him by the neck, but grabbed him by the collar. The Arab man stabbed him to death. That
And
is
then he
cool.
got what he deserved.
Listen. I am again. That is what he got. He put his hands on someone, he overstood his boundaries, and the person had the right to defend themselves. Right? So that the humanity is out the window. Second situation, Peter, nobody on that train knew any of these 42 arrests that four of them were assault or what type of assault they were. If he was mentally unstable when the assaults happened, none of those situations. He was a homeless man on the train saying that he was willing to go to jail because he was hungry. He was looking for food. To me, that is humanity. To me, that is screaming someone needs help. I live in New York City, and there are people, black, white, red, blue, yellow, purple, and orange, that get on the train, every single train line, and be asking, demanding, begging for food in variations of degrees. some completely strung out, some completely left, some completely white. It could be white people, Asian people, black people. This is New York City. A part of living in New York culture is to know kids gonna dance on the train, some homeless people gonna come smell bad and ask you for something. But one of the situations that does not stop black people or any person from riding the train is a fear of danger and death. That if I am taking a train to work, somebody's gonna kill me, especially a homeless person. We would have to look up the rates of homeless people killing people in this city for it to be that way. And again, humanity. Again, I am okay if you disagree. As someone who lived in New York, I got arrested for hopping a turnstile when I was a kid. So please don't pull up my rap sheet and say he's been arrested 12 times, but don't lead. Yeah, he was hopping a turnstile as a kid, right? Because your record is your record. It's not like it divides between you when you're dealt and you're no. It's a part of it. So again, humanity. If Jordan Neely gets no humanity because he was frustrated out of his mind on that train, and it took a trained military person to render him harmless, and in the act of that he died. Cool, humanity out the window again. So by the time we get to a situation like this, it can be very flat up. Because again, I could throw humanity out the window and get on some line in the sand shit and say that white kid should not have approached him or said any fucking thing to him. And the moment he said, you better, if you want to find out, come and see. When he approached him after the warning, he still approached him. However the circumstance is, if that means that he died, case closed, humanity's out the window. He was warned. He should not have even involved himself in even inquiring about why he even was there in the first place. And he should have just mind his fucking business. So because the white boy did not mind his business and he approached the black boy, put his hands on his back, that's his property. I don't know what you're going to do. I backed up and stabbed you. I didn't mean to stab you in the heart, but I stabbed you and that's it. If there is not going to be any humanity for Black America, as Black Americans have been pleading for humanity since the inception of this country, then we don't have to look at these situations to offer and give humanity to anyone else, because we always do. In every situation, we give humanity to every other person at the expense of our own. To even like Brother LaFarm is in the stage. I hope he come up. He's holding a full room, going through every bit of detail of the situation just to see, can we at least argue some humanity for this black brother? Like, we don't have to do all that type of work. The white boy overstood his boundaries. He should not have done that. And in the act thereof, he got stabbed. Case closed. If it's going to be handled that way when it's black folk, then it got to
Hey,
be handled that way when it's anyone else. And if not, then that means that we are going to continue to argue for the humanity of black people, even when they want to defend themselves because they sat under a tent that they, quote, wasn't supposed to be under, as if there's rules and regulations with that in sports, as if there wasn't somebody that is a guy that could have told him that. Right? That kid did not have to involve himself. He didn't. But because he did, and unfortunately something happened, and that's, and I'm laying here, somebody that comes from sports, somebody that lived in Texas, that has had friends with a bunch of kids, it probably was some kids doing some kid shit, and it just so happened to fall out that way because they approached the wrong kid, unfortunately. And I'm gonna land there giving it some sort of humanity.
I agree with you. Humanity should definitely needs to play a factor. And when I see people, media personalities giving humanity for one and not other, and we're talking about teenagers, that's a major problem. And i.e., I do believe I felt Daniel Penny should have been sentenced to some type of jail time. That's not the topic today, but it's two different situations than Carmelo and Daniel Penny, two different states, two different laws. But at the end of the day, Daniel Penny should have been found guilty on something and sentenced to some type of jail time. But um, who was next? I think,
I
yeah,
think
the black
the black and art still have to cycle through.
the black. I guess we're swinging back to art. D wanted to say something, and I know we have a new speaker, HB. So the black D, and then I'm gonna get to the new speaker. Then I'll come to you, retard. Go ahead, the black.
The black, if you're there. All right, let's go to art.
Yeah, what is going on with the mute button? Art, are you there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Black conservatives overlook racism, addressing that particular thing. I posted in the jumbotron. But this thing called a black conservative is relatively new in the concept. Conservatism really roots into like not changing things, and as progressivism would be the opposite, and that's really changing things, right? So when we look at that, when did black people not want things changed? So this is why I feel like black conservatism at best is in its infant stages of, because it's not relevant to the majority of black people, honestly. Um, and I posted something in the let's see, in the jumbotron about stand your ground states, and it's 45% white people get off or justified when they kill a black person, but in the reverse is only 11% of the time. I think we all know that that's not right. Like it should be closer together than that. Like not four times, maybe two times or something, but four times. Like I think we all can agree that's not right. So somewhere justice is not being upheld. First off, and I feel like conservatism, if in this case using those numbers, would be fine with that because they're traditionalists and they trust their institutions and blah blah blah. And 11% to 43 or 44%, 45%, that's normal, right? We don't need to change it. No need to change it. No need for progressive anything, right? That's the conservative view. And I think that's problematic when it comes to the black community, unless you can just look at the black community and say there's nothing to be changed. And I'll land it here too. Um, and this is in general, we have the same representation ratio since 1929. Except the population has grown since then. And we have the same black to white wealth gap since 1969. I'll remind everybody, most black people had taxation or representation till 1965. So to act like that conservatives is going to be some kind of movement outside of maybe in the next 20, 30 years, if that, and when it speaks for the minority groups of ideological views in the black community, I almost think it's like it gets too much weight, mainly because of the Republican Party. And being a black Republican is not the same as being a black conservative. And I'll land it there.
You know what I want to do? I want to go to a new speaker at HBCU, and then Anthony, and I'll follow you on YouTube, ABL. Hi. And then I'll swing back to the other hand. So go ahead, HBC, and then Anthony.
What's going on, Dana? What's
Hi.
going on, Peter?
How are
Listen,
you?
I'm gonna keep it very short here. It's to the point. And answer the question, and then I want to echo everything that my brother Talent said. First of all, we do have some black uh conservatives that overlook racism. Is it all of them? No, and we can see that just by looking at our algorithm or here on Twitter. I know some black Republicans or conservatives, whatever you want to call it, in real life, right? They don't overlook racism. They know what it is. Their ideology and politics are different. But what I will say is I think what we do see is a large portion of our quote unquote black conservatives who are in media, which means they're probably getting paid, right? They are the ones who are overlooking this quote unquote racism. And they go so far as to say, crazy shit, right? And they try to wiggle out with the well, I worked hard and we do this and all you have to do that. Well, when have black people as a whole, majority have not worked hard for what the hell we got? Right? I've worked hard. Talents worked hard. Anthony worked hard. The black worked hard. La Farmers worked hard. Choke. I mean, the list can go on. I'm just going to say these black people have worked hard to get where they are. But guess what? We have not beat those systems that are still, ingrained in the fabric of this country. And so, yes, if I were to say any black conservative overlooks racism is those that are in the media, right? And then shortly to Talent point, we can clearly see the narcissistic cognitive dissonance in this case right here, right? With uh our brother Carmelo Anthony, right? And I'm not going to try to litigate too much right now because, like, majority of you, I want to know the facts. I don't want to hear what you saying. I don't want to hear what they saying. I want to know the facts. But we're not going to sit here and act like we had said ones, talking about Daniel Penny, he was a hero, an American hero, and he did this and he did that when he literally walked up behind a homeless man. And I don't have to be a citizen of New York to understand and echo what Talon is talking about because I've been to New York only like 12 times, and Talon is a New York native. He was born there, and we know how homeless people act on the train. I know how homeless people act on the train in Chicago. We know that these are mentally unstable people. And you kill this man. And so now, when we talk about self defense, which is what somebody said on this stage, oh, it was self defense with Daniel Penny, who wasn't attacked. But all of a sudden, the story is different with Carmelo Anthony. People, we are dealing with a group of people who are narcissistic, cognitive dissonance devils. That's what they are because they will go and change in the exact same scenario to how they feel. And we heard it on this stage, and I'll land there.
Right.
HBCU, I appreciate your submission. Daniel, let me respond real quick. So, what happened in that case is a direct result of and a failure by the city of New York to allow mentally ill people to roam in a subway system. That is the problem. It should not be acceptable to say that homeless people and nut job vagrants should be able to threaten people on their way to work, working class people every single day. I reject that notion, and hopefully, Curtis Sliwa will come in and take over the city this fall, and
Well,
we'll
none
clean
of
up
that
the mess.
matters. You still had a citizen who killed another citizen who, although he verbally threatened a train, allegedly a train full of people, he was killed. Now we have people who argue the same thing you just argue with him and will say that Carmelo Anthony is not justified in a person who not only verbally threatened him, he went on to physically
And
touch
you
and
and you
threaten
and you
him.
know that for a
And
fact
this
because you've
and
interviewed the
this
witnesses, right?
and
You know
this
that for a
and
fact.
but his brother actually said that on camera. But did you listen to his brother?
Oh, I
He
did, my
said
friend.
something
I
And
like
did.
so what we're not going to do, and I'm not going to allow y'all because it is what it is, right? You're talking to real people now on this stage. I'm not getting ready to pussyfoot around with y'all. We know exactly what we heard. We all heard the same thing. We've probably read the same thing and saw the same thing, right? And this is where that cognitive dissonance and that narcissistic behavior kicks in at, right? And I know you. And if you are a white conservative on this stage, let me let you know now. I know about the white racist liberals. I know how they think. I know the soft bigotry. I know the things they say, and I know the.
I'm sorry,
Excuse me,
Dana, but I
Dana.
have
Can
to
you
cut
please,
in on
Dana? Can
this
you please
Wait,
mute
let
her
her.
mic?
because
Wait,
Thank you.
no,
Yeah,
Carrie, you
Carrie,
gotta let
Carrie,
her
I'm muting your
finish.
mic.
Thank
If
you.
you come off again, I'm going to kick you
And
off the stage.
thank you.
Stop.
And so
Carrie,
now the
go.
thank you. The hit dogs are hollering, right? Because with them, I know when they just downright hate me and calling me a nigger behind my back or in their mind because they bet not let me hear them, right? And so I know these types of people. I've worked around them all of my career. I have lived around them all of my life here in Chicago, Illinois, right?
well, we
And
don't.
so, excuse me, please mute your mic
See you,
when a
Carrie.
man
We'll
is
see you in a
talking.
little bit. Go have a
Thank you.
quaalude, maybe a glass
That's
of
all.
wine.
But that's all.
That's not nice. Don't do that, Peter.
I think when we having these conversations, we just need to have them straight up. Either you're gonna call the strikes and balls, or you're not gonna do anything. That's all.
All right. I want to get to Anthony. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing well. So this topic is really, really hot button issue. But I think what's going on as far as the black conservatives overlooking racism, I think what happens is when you have certain stories that may fall into a gray area in some people's minds, you kind of get tribalism that happens as a result. Or, well, tribalism, yeah, sometimes based on race, and then sometimes based on what your ideology is, based on what you think you should say. If you don't really know which side to take, for me, I don't take sides. I look at it for what it is, whether it be black, white, Puerto Rican, the Candy Stripe. I don't really care. I defended Daniel Penny because I know how people are on the train feeling threatened by somebody in their face, crashing out, get ready to hurt somebody. And I said that it was an accident. I don't think he did it on purpose. Now, if I say that, then how can I sit here and say that Carmelo Anthony was a stone cold murderer who woke up out the bed in the morning looking for a white person to kill? That only made no sense. In this situation, I think that it was a fight that was provoked by the unfortunate victim of the stabbing. Now, the thing about it is people look at this situation differently depending upon their cultural affiliation, not racial, but cultural, because some white guys and black guys or whatever have similar culture to me and they understand. They from a similar place to me, so they understand. You understand that if you're sitting somewhere and somebody tell you to get up, like let's say you were in class, for example, hey, get out my seat. That's automatically, you might have to fight. And what you got to do in that situation is stand your ground. If you don't stand your ground, now you're going to get bullied. That's how bullying starts. You stand your ground and say, hey, don't touch me. If they want to fight, then you fight. If they just respect you for standing your ground, they leave you alone. But you got to stand your ground. I saw this case as that. But because in some people's minds it exists in the gray area, they're going to resort to tribalism. They're going to resort to, oh, he's a thug, no dad in the house, just making up stuff that they don't know, because that's in the back of their mind already. That's going to be their default. Okay, there's going to be among racial lines rather than seeing it for just an individual instance. Does it make any sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And honey, I heard they was trying to drag you and Tim, honey. Um, y'all got some scratches, and that's the problem too, because yeah, take race out of it, and it's honestly it's bigger than race. You're talking about teenagers here, and then we're talking about a culture of bullying, understanding consequence, defending yourself, whatever the case may be. So with that said, yes, people are picking sides, and then there's a lot of tribalism going on. That's why I'm like, I'm not down with the tribalism, and I don't care who get mad, who got an attitude. I'm not down with no tribalism shit. I'm sorry, but that's how they're making it. The media is making this into, and media meaning not just legacy media, but social media. What we content creators. There are people that are turning it into that, whether you black or white, and this is a serious situation that's not just happened in Texas with these two teenagers and one died, but throughout this nation. Like, what is going on with kids in society? And it's like, yeah, if people, there are a lot of people who defended Daniel Penny for what he did. And if you defended Daniel Penny, why are you turning your back or dragging Carmelo Anthony? Go ahead.
Some, some saw Daniel Penny as a racial case from the beginning, but they said, oh, it's self-defense. Oh, he was just trying to help people on the train. But they saw it as a racial case. They saw it as a white person not getting beat up by a black person and succeeding in that. That's what they saw it as. Me, I saw it as a situation where people were getting threatened, and then it was an unfortunate accident that happened. It was unfortunate. That's what it was. That's the way I saw it. But since we're on the same page with that, maybe they think I thought what they thought. But I don't look at it that way. I'm an honest person. I say that I don't put race into things. I look at things for just what it is. Each individual case, I look at it for what it is, regardless of race. But now we're seeing the true colors come out of some people, because it's not all. I got a lot of negative comments on my channel, but ultimately I didn't lose any subs. I gained subs, actually.
Right.
So it don't even really matter. It's the extreme vocal minority. And I want to say something about the media. In this case, it was your conservative media on the internet, your social media. Matt Walsh, Daily Wire, these kind of guys pumped it up because they need their George Floyd. Ain't no more Candace Owens on Daily Wire, so how are we going to get some money? And before they try to sue me, because they like to do that, this is just my humble opinion. Ain't no more Candace Owens on Daily Wire. Let's be incendiary. Let's start some racial stuff and monetize that. Let's do that. That's what it felt like because it wasn't the media, the mainstream media pushing it the same way they did during George Floyd. And it's crazy because I thought we defeated the whole George Floyd thing, which caused a bunch of racial strife, riots, chaos, and really it was black people that got hurt the most. They burned down black neighborhoods, they killed black kids. I covered Black Lives Matter and all that. They killed little girls. So Corey Turner, she was like 6, 7, 8 years old, shot and killed in Atlanta by BLM people. You had teenagers, black boys, 16, 19, killed by Antifa over in Seattle, Washington. This hurt us. But now, after I thought we defeated that, we got the same people who were aiding and defeating that, creating their own George Floyd for their own purposes. And I don't understand why they're doing it. It's really crazy. And one more thing I got to say, it's a bunch of dramatics going on as well. People trying to prove their point. Oh, you think this case is okay? You must endorse people stabbing people in the heart because they touched them and told them to move. What? I'm talking about self-defense. When you have a fight, you don't know how the fight going to turn out. You might just have hands and feet, punch somebody in the face one time and they die. So you can't really determine how a fight is going to end. What you can determine is if you are the person approaching somebody is to not do things that are going to incite a fight. And here's a cultural difference. Some think that sitting under the tent while it's raining is a provocation. Some think that going up to the guy and saying, get out the way is a provocation. I'm more in the camp of the latter. If I'm sitting there under a tent while it's raining, you know why I'm sitting there. If you come up to me and tell me, hey, get out the way, move, you are picking the fight and you're bullying me. That's how bullying starts. I've seen it. I'm from Virginia, Norfolk, one of the top 10 most dangerous places in the country. I know how the fights start. I know how these things are. I have street smarts. A lot of these guys don't have street smarts. They come from suburban environments, Pleasantville, USA, where little Johnny will have a little fist fight with little Timmy and don't nothing happen. Where I come from, if you fight somebody, you pick a fight, you can die. You can die from that. I don't play around with no fight, and I don't start no fights. So I know how fights start. I know how to avoid them. I know how to mind my own business. I know how to not get in trouble. I'm 40 years old, never been arrested. I got best friends that's dead, locked up, and all of that. I never been arrested. Why? Because I know how to navigate these street environments. A lot of these pundits, a lot of these stuffed shirt guys don't know anything. They don't know anything, and then they get on the internet and start talking. And people who also don't know anything, a lot of young people, a lot of new political people, they believe them. That's what's going on here. So I think we need to get more people that have a little bit more sense, a little bit more street smarts, and who are not easily led by whatever a guy like Matt Walsh says on the internet.
Anthony, quick question. I love your submission. Based upon what you've seen so far in the case, do you think the jury's going to rule that it was reasonable, proportional for him to escalate to deadly force?
Now that's a great question. Now, I'm not really sure. It depends on Texas. I don't know how their laws work. I don't really know the answer to that question, but it's possible. It could be like a kind of a toss-up. But again, I don't know Texas's laws. I don't know what the jury's going to be like. I don't know the area because it depends. If you're in an area that's kind of a more liberal area, they might be a little bit more easy on them. If it's more conservative, maybe not. Or maybe they will be more easy on them because they understand what the situation is. I don't really know, but here's what I want to say. This idea of proportionality, that's BS. Zimmerman, was that proportional? You shoot somebody after you getting beat up. Was that proportional? There was a case in Virginia where a YouTuber was pranking a random person, playing a video in his face. And as the guy's trying to leave, he's kind of like getting in the way a little bit, but he's not, not pushing them. He's not punching them. The YouTuber shot that guy right in the shopping mall, right in the food court. He beats the attempt murder or whatever that was. He got convicted on the gun charge, but he only did time served, which is like 8 to 9 months, right there into 5 years in the penitentiary, which you get in Virginia for a thing like that. So this whole idea of proportionality is not always the case. It depends on the situation. Okay, you got
Anthony, you had that backwards, brother. it was a Uber Eats guy. The YouTuber was going in the Uber Eats guy's face, and that Uber Eats guy shot him.
Ain't that what I said?
Nah, you said the YouTuber shot someone.
Oh,
No,
my bad. So
he said it the right. I heard it the right way, Anthony. I heard you say it correctly. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and the video's on my page. Anybody can look it up. You can see it right on my Twitter page. It's right there. I covered it, and here's something else. I covered it back then, and I said that the guy who shot the YouTuber was right because don't touch people, leave people alone, get out of my way. I warned you. Hey, I don't want nothing to do with this. Leave me alone. And you continuing. See, now you putting your life on the line. It's the same thing with the young man in Texas. Okay, I'm sitting there. You're approaching me. Off. I know I got to fight. Is you and your twin brother, big linebackers. I'm not trying to get stomped out of banks. I'm not trying to get jumped. Okay, look, touch me and see what happens. That means don't touch me. Some think that's a provocation. I dare you. I triple dog dare you. Nah, I'm not playing around. This ain't no dare. We're not 5 years old. I'm telling you, don't touch me. And you don't have the right to put your hands on anybody. And it's a lesson for anybody listening. You do not have the right to put your hands on anybody unless they put their hands on you first. Keep your hands to yourself. And if you don't keep your hands to yourself, you could die. And it's not a game. It's not a game. This again, we're not 5 years old. This ain't no sandbox. We're 17, about to be grown, about to be in college, about to be driving and working. These are basically men. You don't play around like that. You're not going to just go on the street and just say, hey, random person, get out of this seat. You don't belong here. And then try to remove them. Man, you could lose your life so quick. And then you got to ask yourself, was it worth it to get permanently injured, paralyzed, or die over something like that? Don't try to be no authority figure when you're not. You need to appeal to the police, appeal to the authority figure. That's what should happen because, again, you can lose your life over a fight.
So,
Peter, if I may,
1 second.
Hold on,
I want to.
to respond
Hold on,
to
retard.
respond to him.
Yeah,
Hold
yeah.
on.
1 second.
Let Dana go.
You respond. I want to ask Anthony this, and you can respond, and I'm gonna get to other speakers. Anthony, have you always been like a Republican? Like your parents and you, is that like is that a legacy political party affiliation with your family, or there was something that you personally chose to be a Republican? I'm assuming you are a Republican.
I mean, that's a good question. I would say I'm more of a conservative person. I might have said Republican before, but in Tennessee, you don't register as a particular party. You register to vote. So I'm just me. If it was a Democrat that made sense, I'd vote for him. Although I don't really see that happening. So I vote Republican most of the time, but I identify myself as a conservative person. I've always been conservative. I've been the same way since I've been young. Anybody that know me,
What about your parents? Is it the same for your parents?
now my parents, again, it kind of goes back to how you are. My parents are conservative, but they always voted liberal. My parents are the same as me. My parents raised me, so they're no different than I am as far as my behavior and my thought process. Like, I guarantee you, if my mom was on the call right now, she said the same thing that I'm saying. Although, party wise, she's going to align with the Democratic Party because they come from a different generation where you just didn't vote Republican at a certain point. Like during 60s, 70s, they didn't do that. So that's what they align with politically. But as far as how they behave, they are 100% conservative.
So then maybe my question when I said do conservative overlook racism, because that's why I asked. And thank you so much for explaining that, because I've said this in the beginning of the space. Black people in general, when we talk about the legacy of Black families, have been conservative, even though you may be Democrat. So maybe I should have said Black Republicans overlooking racism, because whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, especially if you're a baby boomer and older, you've always been conservative. These new Democrats of young people and new Republicans of young people, is, to me, it's just something different. And I think those are ones that overlook it to where they try to play it as if it doesn't exist. But they are quick to say, well, Black culture is trash, i.e. Jason Whitlock and others like him. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, I have a quick question for Anthony as well. If he could opine on what HBCU said, that this is an error of judgment with narcissism and cognitive dissonance. in regards to Daniel Penny, and then not applying that into this case. And is there fun? I from listening to you, it sounds like you believe there is fungibility between the two cases, meaning they are very similar. But how would you respond to him saying that this is a judgment error of narcissism as well as cognitive dissonance?
I mean, that could be the case, but I'm not really sure everyone's reason. I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying. People just, I don't know, people when things are in the gray area, they don't know what to do. So then they just kind of default to their default settings. If you are already a racist before this, you're going to go back to that. If you don't know what to think and you're kind of looking for cues from other people, you'll just go with what you think will make you the most money, or what would please those who are looking to you to say something. If you don't know anything, you just go to that. In my opinion, that's kind of what's going on here. Also, it just kind of depends on where you're from and your culture, whether you black or white, whatever it is. And where I'm from, Virginia, we don't play like that. Maybe some of y'all could just slap people in the head and nobody does anything, or you don't risk getting hurt or killed. We don't do that in Virginia. If you play around like that, everybody don't play around like that, and you could die. So I think that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate your
Um,
submission.
I think choke. Okay, so I have choke.
Wait.
Oh, what you wanted
Retard
to say
wanted to
I'm
something?
respond.
Oh, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah. So Peter had asked Anthony about proportionality. So it comes down to, I think it falls flat. Proportionality falls flat because it's at a school, it's at a sporting event. You have If you had issues with the individual, you put yourself in a position around that individual instead of tallying all the officials, all the authority figures in that same area. So he put himself in a position where he had outs, but he didn't take those outs. And then to my last shout out to all the people who refuse to be enslaved to the victim mentality party.
All right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So to respond to that right quick, I mean, like as far as being at a school event with a knife, it kind of goes back to the whole thing about you were in the mall with a gun and you shoot it and you got locked up for it, but you still beat the case as far as the attempt murder. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, he might have a problem with the knife, but that's separate from whether it was self-defense or not. You could be cleared of a murder charge, but still be convicted on the gun charge or a knife or something like that. And then as far as he brought it on himself, he's just sitting there. I don't know if he sat under the tent as the twins were right there. I don't know if he even knew this whole thing about, oh, you can't sit under my tent because it's our school. I don't even know if he knows that. I don't know all the particulars. All that I do know for right now is that he was approached and then people put their hands on him. See,
But no, Anthony.
hold on
But
one
from
second.
but
Hold on
okay, go
one
ahead.
second. For me, growing up, I was always told don't do that. And I've been saying that for years on the internet. So that's pretty much my hard line. Don't touch people, don't put your hands on people, because now a fight can happen and you never know how it's going to actually end up.
No, I agree with you. But to a point where uh and again, all the facts, where everyone's waiting on the facts to come out. But what was reported was that they already had beef prior to this incident. So,
Well, here's the
and
question.
again,
So here's
go
the
ahead.
question. If they already had beef, did he sit there knowing that they were there already? Or did they approach him because they already had beef? Did they see him and say, okay, let's go get him. Let's go say something to him because we already got a problem with him. That's
Well,
how
that
bullies
was their
do.
school tent. That
But
was
see that,
their
but see,
school
but
tent.
look, but look,
They
but
did
look.
not know each other. The family spokesman for the boy, Carmelo, even he said they did not have any interactions before that time. They did not know each other. That was rumors. This is coming from him.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard that too. They didn't know each other.
Yeah, that came out from that Next Generation Action Network. I think it was Thursday or Friday. He said that they did not know each other unequivocally.
All right, so choke. I believe choke was next. And D had a hand up for a minute. I'm gonna go to D, and then I'm gonna get to some other new speakers. I don't see Indoctrin or the Negro up here, but I see Jira. I know I'm saying your name wrong.
Yeah, great.
Gere.
Yep.
Judge Sarah, Buda, and Pope. So go ahead, Choke.
Hey, good evening. How you doing, Dana?
I'm
Uh,
good.
good, good. What's up, Peter Pig?
Hey, man.
Um,
What's popping?
what's going on? And so, I mean, I listen. I know everybody's kind of like chomping at the bit, to see, the video footage and something else develop within this case. And so, we're still, stuck on speculation. And I know, Dana, you said that these other cases didn't have I mean, they happen in different states and things like that. But Dana, it's kind of hard not to look at it and say, like, hey, that compared to this that happened in this country, this isn't right. You see what I'm saying? Now, the Daniel Penny thing and what's the other kid, Rittenhouse? A lot of people are leaving some of the biggest point blank things out about those cases. These are they both responded in a militant manner. You see what I'm saying? Um, Daniel Penny, like I'm a former soldier. Yeah, I mean it's true, Peter. You know, you go get your AR rifle. You know, the whole Rittenhouse thing. We can diagnose it if you want to, but I'm a former soldier. You know what I mean? And the thing is, we're taught restraint. You understand? We're taught to, you know, uh, if you're gonna put somebody in a rear naked, when to cut it off. You see what I'm saying? It was just too much. Like he did that intentionally. He could have subdued that guy. He was bigger, stronger, whatever the case was. He could have subdued that guy and put him down. Okay, you say that, but you putting the thumbs down. I mean, and I'm open for dialogue. So you don't have to put the thumbs down. We can actually discuss it.
No,
He he
we
was
let
threatening
you
people.
get
He
your
was threatening people
get your
in the
point
train
out.
in an
Okay,
enclosed
hold
environment.
on, one at a
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
One
I
at a
don't want
time.
to interrupt
One.
you. I didn't want to interrupt.
No, it's okay. One at a time. One at a time. So he was threatening people on the train, right? Now,
With physical violence.
okay, here's the thing.
Basically, assaulting them. Assault is
Okay,
the action of threatening the violence. The
okay.
battery is the completed assault.
And
And
you know that
So
how? How
Peter,
do you know
so
that, sir? And how
wait a
do
minute,
you know
wait a
that,
minute,
sir?
wait a minute,
Tell me
wait a
how
minute,
you
He
wait a
doesn't
minute,
know
I
Judge.
that.
Wait
know
a
you're
minute, Judge.
upset.
Hold
I
on,
know you're
hold
upset,
on,
Judge.
hold
Just
on,
give it
hold
a
on a
second. You'll
second.
be able to speak.
Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
Choke.
how you
Wait, wait,
call
hold
people
on.
racist?
Everybody, hold on. Choke. This is your time to speak. You can't throw a question out there and then you want people to not cut you off. Say what you want to say, and then people going to rebuttal. So just go ahead.
Okay, all right. So let's do it your way, Dana. So the threatening people. Okay, so Dana, I worked in nightclubs as well. You know what I mean? Moonlighted as a bouncer. A little bit, right? Now everybody that I'm working with, they're 6'4", or better. You know what I mean? From 260 pounds up to 410 pounds. You know what I mean? Real monsters. Real life, real deal monsters. And what I'm telling you is we work we work for celebrities. You understand? We work for artists, like whatever you want to say, like the whole range. We work uh weddings, whatever you name it, we probably done it, right? Uh the thing is, we've subdued people single-handedly, one-on-one, whatever, however you want to do it. They were threatening people. That's the whole reason why you hire security, the whole nine. But guess what? We didn't have not one fatal accident, not one time where we were the bigger, stronger person who knew what we were doing and we killed someone. Not once. You understand? And we're talking about, man, hundreds of events. You see what I'm saying? But deadly force could have been applied. Every man I was with knew how to kill. So we're talking about opportunistic vigilantism. That's what it is. It's people who are going out there, putting themselves in harm's way, being vigilantes, and being opportunistic for the kill because it did not have to come to that. When you put your listen, you once you put that magazine in a rifle, you understand? You chamber that round, you squeeze that trigger. You you had 200 miles to drive, and your mother, she should have been the one that told you not to do it. So we're not even talking about like, this 16, 17-year-old boy making a bad decision. We're talking about the adult, the guardian that's over him making a bad decision. Who are you to go to a whole nother state and police somebody?
He was asked to go. Let's take it case by case because
How do you
we're
hold on?
going by different
Who
cases.
asked
He was
who asked him to go,
he was
Peter?
asked to go by the parties who were related to property owners in the city whose properties were
So they
burned
hold on,
down in the
wait.
riot.
So hold on, wait. So they asked, hold on, that's interesting. So they asked a 16-year-old kid to go protect their property 200 miles away.
In a capacity as an EMT to help assist people as well. That's what he was there for as an
Once
EMT.
again, a 16-year-old
Yeah.
in a
Yeah. You know why?
hold on,
You know
hold on, in
why?
a chaotic hold on, in a chaotic.
You know why? Judge, I'm going to ask you not to come off your micro. I'm going to have to bounce you down for a timeout. I don't want to put you on timeout because I really value your opinion, but I need you not to be so emotional. You're going to be just fine. Everything's going to be gold. I'm going to finish my point, Choke, and then I'm going to unmute. The individual was asking people to come to protect the place because the police were not protecting the property. Because if I don't know if you remember, it was the summer of love. It was the summer of Black Lives Matter, a communist organization that had GRU agents and other Chinese agents within the crowd as agent provocateurs, as well as Antifa, who's also controlled by George Soros. So that's why he was asked to go there to protect the properties from more damage and also to help assist people who might be injured. And if you go back and watch the video, you could see that he was attacked in a riot. And Judge Joe Brown actually spoke to this last week. And I love Judge Joe Brown. He is a legal juggernaut, salt of the earth. I love listening to him. I get so much wisdom and knowledge. And I hope that when people listen to him again this Tuesday, they won't continue to call him names and say his black card is being revoked because of the things that he says. And as far as the Daniel Penny case, a lunatic was ranting and raving. And if you go listen to the 911 tape that was played for the jury, as well as the numerous witnesses, if you look at the trial testimony, you'll actually see that he was within a foot of threatening somebody that had a baby on the train. And there were black people on the train, Hispanics on the train, whites on the train, a whole cornucopia to represent America. And Daniel Penny stood up, restrained the individual. Unfortunately, it looks like he suffered some type of a medical event, went into cardiac arrest, and that's why he died. And I'll land there.
Okay. So once again, I don't listen. You can say it's facts, but just because it's facts doesn't make it right. You see what I'm saying? Because if my 16-year-old nephew who does know CPR, all this good stuff, I taught him how to shoot from a young age, all this type of stuff. If someone calls, I'm in South Carolina. If somebody calls from uh uh I don't know, Atlanta, you understand, and says, "Hey, I I need your nephew to go over here and play security and work as a first responder against Antifa, Black Lives Matter, and whoever else." Nigga, like, excuse me, that's war. You understand? Like, I'm telling you, brother, like, I've been to war. And the thing is, even as a soldier, bruh, I want you to think about this. Because Mr. Daniel Penny is a soldier as well, and I think he was deployed. Even if,
He was a Marine, not a soldier.
A
bro, don't
Marine.
don't do that. Because I know I,
He still
I
knew
know the
better.
difference, okay?
Right. He still knew better.
Right. The thing is this right here, bro. Even if a weapon is present, you know what I mean? That doesn't mean you have the right to shoot someone in theater. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't work like that. That's not how it works. Like what you're seeing, like coming back to the States, is so you're seeing people take on these vigilante roles. You understand? Like that's what's happening. It is.
All right.
You can put your thumbs down all you want to, Peter, but this is what's happening. So the thing is this right
I
here.
mean,
And
choked. A jury decided in both cases that they weren't responsible for it, or they were justified. So how do you speak to that?
okay, so check this out. A jury also decided in Texas that a man who gunned down his wife in cold blood only deserved 20 years. Was that right?
I
Well,
don't know.
he got
I don't know the facts
convicted.
of the case.
Okay, so
Right.
this is the thing. This is separates people who are not versed or in the legal field, and people who are, because every time when I speak to the judge, he said the sentencing, you have a guideline that a judge has to present. It's like guidelines of how many years you could give someone for whatever said crime. You just can't say, well, that was a really bad crime and I think you should get 100 years. No, it is a literally a guideline that you have to follow that gives you
Mhm.
a sentencing time frame. So just because you think it's not fair, you think he should have got more or he should have got less, that's your own personal feeling and perspective and opinion. But the law is the law, and they have guidelines to help them guide
And
to how many
Dana, the
years somebody
guidelines are
gets.
there for a reason, right? The reason
The
is because
guidelines aren't always correct
they're there
though.
for a reason because they don't
Well,
want to
then
have
that's where you got to take it
disparity.
up. But if you have a problem with the guidelines, you take it up with your legislation in your
The, re-
state.
the
I'm a,
reason the reason for the guideline is because they don't want to have disparity in sentencing, because then that invites people to say that the law is being applied unevenly and it undermines the value of the law.
Well, we see that didn't work. We have a
When
study
we say
now where
value
black
of the
I
law,
don't
men
know
All
are
if
right,
you're
getting
wait, one
speaking, but
second,
I
convicted
was
guys.
trying to
One
look,
finish
second.
look.
my
One
point.
I'm
second. I
so
need
that
everybody
didn't
just to be quiet. Stop jumping off your mic.
Yeah, I was trying to
Please.
finish my
I need
point.
to go. All right, we got to get to new speakers. Judge
Yeah,
Sarah Bruda. I hope I'm saying your name right. And I see Pope
brother, it
Brother.
looks like
Brother. I see
brother Tom.
Breton. Whatever. Um.
Dana, the only thing I wanted to say is that's why they have it, right? If you look at the sentencing guidelines, they don't want to have that disparity because that invites appeals and then it'll get reversed. So, in order to have uniformity in sentencing, that is why they've applied this guideline range and this rubric scoring system, so that when a defense attorney who's clever tries to appeal it, they then go through that sentencing guideline report and they try to pick it apart. And if you have a score that comes out of it, it's harder for them to appeal.
All right.
And I'll land there.
Well, they still appealing anyway. But anyway, all right. Judge Sarah Bruda and Pope. Javon was up here, but I don't see him. And then I do see the other hands. So I am going to come back to you, Art, Retard, D. I see you guys. So go ahead.
Dana, I don't know if Choke landed. Did you land Choke? I want to
Well,
make
I think
sure.
he did land. I need
no,
to
I
get to the
didn't
note.
land, but that's
Just
okay.
mute up Choke for now. Just mute up for now. I'll swing back because I need to get to new speakers, people that haven't spoken. So Judge Sarah, Bruda, Pope, and
And I appreciate you hanging out, Choke. I really value your opinion, even if it's opposite of mine.
go ahead, Judge Sarah.
Hey, what's up, family? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because I'm in my car. And so, what I want to say a couple of things. Hopefully, I can do it without being interrupted. Do Black conservatives overlook racism? First, I'm going to identify as a Black conservative. I'm a Black conservative Republican, hardcore MAGA conservative. That relates to my values in life and my politics. Don't really have a lot to do with my race. And so really quickly, I just want to touch on this. Oh shit, I'm not gonna miss my exit. When you are asking that question, okay, first of all, do we overlook racism? You guys, I missed my exit. First of all, it all depends on what you're talking about. Somebody using the word nigga, I don't care about that. I'm a Black person, Negro, who really like myself. Racism is rooted in insecurity. Okay, understand what I'm saying? Racism is rooted in I don't feel good about me, so I'm gonna try to bully somebody else. So I only concern myself with racism when someone of my nationality, my lineage, is being their rights are being violated. In the case of Camilo Anthony, family, you need to recognize what this is. Okay, this is about blackness. This is about a Black man. And what you want to start from is compare and contrast. Okay, the 14th Amendment was enacted, I think, in 1866 for Negro people. Understand? Civil rights is for you and me, not everybody else. That's why my president Donald Trump is trying to reinstate the 14th for what it was meant for. Okay, so that means that as a people, that we are equal in this country. Okay, in the case of Daniel Penny, I don't go back and forth with racists. Okay, we know what that was. We failed Jordan Neely. We failed him. Daniel Penny's people didn't fail him. We failed Jordan Peele. In the case of, I'm gonna bring it up, Trayvon Martin. I don't know if y'all realize this. In the case of Trayvon Martin, stand your ground does not. You can't use stand your ground if you initiated the engagement. You and I know who initiated the engagement. We don't have attorneys that work for us. We have Judas and cannibals like Anthony, what's his name, Ben Crump. Okay, so I'm saying, in the case of Kyle Rittenhouse, that gun was illegal. Okay, but we see what the judge did. So in the case of Camilo Anthony, as a people, as a group, we need not to fail that brother. First of all, he's on $1 million bail. So you don't argue the facts. You compare and contrast, because this is about a black man. Was he in fear? Black men in America, do you think he was in fear? What it is to be a black man in this country, okay? So was his fear rationalized? Of course it was rationalized. You just need to be able to articulate that. He is in $1 million bail, and he was charged with murder. You don't go and argue this stuff these racists in this room is arguing with. See, they're going to show up for theirs. To the end, they're going to lie, they're going to deceive, and arguing back and forth with the racists is mute to me. The goal is to protect your brother. That's a good young black man. And they tried him, so he stood his ground. You going back and forth arguing with racists is moot. Why are you doing it? So in the case of Camilo Anthony, don't be afraid to make it about black. And again, I'm a hardcore MAGA Republican conservative. That's my politics. That don't have anything to do with my blackness. So again, I'm gonna say it again. And you see how they jumped in and they have their story down packed. I'm a corporate woman. Okay, I come from corporate America. I know what they do. I married an Irish American. I know what they do. You notice they got their story down pat. And then I want to speak really quickly, and I'm gonna stop. To the coon, unfortunately, the black men who are conservatives, who are cooning, family, you can't attack them. That's the weak link. Those black men who you know are conservatives, who are licking conservative asses, they're the weak link. So why would you argue with the weak link? They don't believe in our ability. They think they believe what they've been taught about black people, even themselves. So I'm gonna say this again. I really encourage you to not go back and forth with the weak link. That's the weak link. They weak. So why you gonna fight with the ones who were weak? I hope y'all following me when I'm talking about the black conservative ass kissing who make excuses for why white people are racist to black people. Don't go back and forth with them. They're the weak ones. Those are I think we call them the house nigga. Anyway, I appreciate you. Thank you, family.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Judge.
Princess.
I love
Think
that.
she was talking about Anthony, and I take umbrage with her racist remark towards Anthony because Anthony, I find very intellectual, very articulate,
Don't even
and
try
he
it.
is very strong. She's called him the weakling. I think he's stronger than what she's talking about because he's going opposite of what the mob is doing.
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I think you
Yeah, I don't
misunderstand
know.
me. Maybe you
Yeah,
don't.
she wasn't talking
Maybe
about
you
Anthony.
maybe you
I don't
don't
know what you're
understand
talking
because
about
I'm a
either.
black person. You don't understand my
He's going
jargon.
opposite. He's doing
So,
opposite of what
sir,
she's
I don't know
But
saying.
what
she
you're
didn't
talking
mention
He's a
his
about.
name.
retard.
Yeah,
So
she didn't
A
I
mention
didn't.
his
true
name.
retard.
I said that the coon Republicans are the weak link. I didn't say
Right.
that. You know
You mentioned
Carmelo Anthony.
Anthony. This dude
Carmelo
mentioned Anthony's name.
Anthony's a man. Carmelo Anthony's a man who stood his ground. So you know, and notice how they gaslight. See, that's one of their techniques. Again, I'm a corporate woman. I fuck with the best. I have negotiated with the best. Notice how they change the game, how they put words in my mouth. Fam, you gotta wake up and be aware. Anyway, so he just put words in my mouth. They don't make any sense. That's part of the gaslighting. So you gotta stop, listen, and pay attention. Don't be so quick to react. Thank you again.
Peace and
I think
blessings, Judge. I appreciate your submission.
what's
Who's
called I
next,
think
Dana?
Bruda. I think Bruda,
Brother.
brother. But Dana, she can call me Bruda. It's all good. What's
Oh,
going on?
it's brother?
Yeah, I'm gonna change. That's why I put
Because
the A.
brother is Brotha.
No, but it's like
Uh
brother, like a
my
what is that?
my
Like
wife is
Jamaican
Hawaiian.
style? Brother Tom.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. It's
I'm
like
thinking
Uncle
of
Tom, but
I'm
I'm
thinking
brother
of
Tom. You
brother
know,
from Detroit, brother.
yeah, so appreciate it. First time on your stage. Well, pleasure to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I say, do black conservatives? I would say black. I would say black MAGA. I don't know about black conservatives. I would say a lot of black MAGA people who are grifters, 100% overlook racism. They'll do anything, and I'm gonna call somebody out because I like to put headshots in it. That Tatum, if it's if he has to call every black person. Uh, no matter what the situation is, he's gonna go against it, even if it's clear racism. He's gonna go against it, right? So yeah, people who get paid from mainly from white Trump supporters, who that is their lifeline, they have to. That's their moneymaker. So I think there's a difference between like I'm not a conservative. I'm a Trump Democrat, right? So this is the first time last year in 2024 I voted Republican, but I ain't voting Republican again. Once Trump is gone, I'm done. I'm good. I served my purpose. Um, but it's gonna be I'm gonna have to look and see who's out there. But yeah, these black conservatives, I went
Brother, what speaks to you about the Democratic Party, if you don't mind, maybe a couple of reasons?
I think let me flip it on you. I would say what doesn't speak to me, who doesn't speak to me besides President Trump, who goes to the Bronx? Who else went to the Bronx? I don't see DeSantis in the Bronx. I don't see any other Republican. I don't see Mitch McConnell going to the Bronx. I don't even see him probably even going to the poor neighborhoods in his own poor state of Kentucky. Republicans don't speak to me. Maybe Scott Presler, he go clean up, but that's about it. Anybody else? Come on now. Any real, I mean, they could say, "Oh, you support child this." No, 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 no. Republicans are not there for this, and I'll land with
But you
that.
you agree with a lot of the Democratic platform, like the trans agenda and the illegal immigration, unfettered access, bringing these people in so that they can then change the voting rosters and blocks, so there's a permanent Democrat voting class. You agree with that?
That's the reason why I had stopped voting, Democrat for a while because I don't agree with that. But once once it's over, once this election is over, like once 2028 comes, 2029, what do black people got to go to the Republican Party? Who's
Oh,
there for us?
I think you see prominent members. You see what is it, Byron Donalds? You see Tim Scott. Um, what was the other guy's name? Wesley. Is it Wesley Hunt? All these individuals that are rising and are speaking to a lot of the issues that the black community, I think, I'm not from the black community, so I don't want to speak for them, but I think that they want to hear about, which is employment. And a large part of it also has to do with the treatment that they've been getting as far as illegal immigrants getting or being able to jump the roster and the roles to be able to get some of the money that the government is allocating. So I don't.
Here's a fact.
Go ahead.
Here's a fact. They're not going to be a black person probably won't win Florida. I'm almost. I don't see Florida electing a black man. I don't see Virginia electing a black woman. I just from just looking at the details and looking at the data, it doesn't seem like they're win. Um, I don't think the Republican Party truly really wants a lot of black people in their party. I think they accept it because for Donald Trump. I think no, this is just the truth. Look, look, I play Madden once in a while. And, you got to be in the game to play. To win the game, you got to be in the game. And I don't see Republicans again. You mentioned a few. You mentioned all black Republicans. How many black Republicans are there really in Congress? There's one, two in the House. Well, how many in the House? Yeah, I know since Mia Love left. How many in the House now? And then
There's more than that.
how many black Republicans are in the House of Representatives?
I don't know off the top of my
Like
head, but I'm going to Google it now.
It's about
it's a
two,
handful.
two. It's
Two.
not over three, so about two.
Right. So we could count them on our finger. Okay, one hand. And then in the Senate, you have one. Now, how many Republicans you look at, all the Republicans go back to the years, how many have they really tried to really talk to the black community, understand the plight of the black people? They don't. Donald Trump came along and changed the game, and these people still don't get it. The way to win is to bring in a big tent, and I don't think the Republican Party is there yet. And just my this
So,
is my
brother,
personal
you're
opinion.
you're prepared to vote for Rahm Emanuel if he's the candidate, because it looks like
Hell
he's going to
no.
be.
I'm
Okay.
looking at no. I'll be honest with you. The person I'm looking at two people. One Republican would be Kemp. I think Kemp did a great job in Georgia. They have good job numbers. He did a good job during the COVID. Didn't shut down, even went against Trump. And then I like Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro has a good pro. He's done a pretty good job with Pennsylvania job. He believed in trade. He did a lot of trade programs and stuff like that. So I'm more of a working class, blue collar, old school Democrat. Like the Kennedys used to say, the way out of welfare is work. And I think, Republicans, they still haven't got to that yet. I don't think they're going to break the blue wall ever again
Bro-
unless they get
And
another
brother,
Trump.
and
brother.
brother,
But
one
that
more point. Hold on, retard. One more point. So you think that the Democrats doubling down on identity politics, which is all we see on MSNBC, CNN, and with the all the talking points, you think that's going to play well for the midterms and 2028?
It don't matter. Black people, they've been doing that to black people ever since the movie The Crying Game came out. I mean, I don't really know what you mean. Black people don't pay attention that closely to stuff like that. They just think, oh, that's, San Francisco Democrats. Those are just the few. Look, we see what happened in Wisconsin, right? We didn't really show up for the Republican Party. Um, you're gonna see for yourself. It ain't gonna matter
Well,
all of a
wait,
sudden.
wait, slow down. So let me interject because who didn't show up for the Republican Party in Wisconsin? You talking about the Black Republicans?
In general, voters, yeah. I mean, and Democrats didn't change their stance on anything. She didn't. She's a far leftist. I think people don't care about the cultural issues that much when it comes to like these little races, such as in the House races. I think it's going to matter in the president race in 2028. But I
Well,
think
I agree with you there. A lot of people they don't even pay attention to their local politics because when we look at Congress, these are individuals who are voted by their constituents in their state, in their district, which has nothing to do with me. It's just that when we look at Congress as a whole, collectively, they are the purse to of the United States. So there are things that Congress as a whole have the authority to get bills passed and legislation. But these people who are selected from their district, and there are Democrat districts and there are Republican districts. Very few purple areas. That's why redistricting in states is another hot topic. So to your point, when you see Democrats, you're going to see a lot of Black people because Black people have been voting Democrat majority Democrat since FDR, not since Lyndon B. Johnson. That's a myth.
Mhm. You're right. You're
Prior
right.
to that, you had the Republicans, Black people were Republicans. You talk about because I always call it the Frederick Douglass Republican. And I like to consider myself that type of Republican. And then you also have modern day rhinos because Governor Kemp is a rhino down in Georgia, so he could easily be compromised. But to your point, when you're talking about, Congress and Black people in Congress and stuff like that, you voted for Trump, and a lot of Black people voted for Trump. But then there was a good portion, not a whole lot, but it was a good portion, a high percentage in decades that a lot of Black people did convert from blue to red, like registering to vote. They're no longer Democrat; they are Republican because we're talking about ideology. My values and ideology line up more with Republicans than it do Democrat. And I don't care what the color of that politician is. And that's what a certain group of Black people are starting to take that shift. But then you do have Democrats who vote locally. See, Democrats who vote locally and also nationally, I tend to kind of give those Democrats more respect because you're paying attention to your local politics, which is way more important than who's sitting in the White House. But then you have a lot of Democrats that are focused on the White House and Congress, and it doesn't affect them, and it probably never will affect them. So,
Right.
go ahead and finish up,
I'll give
brother,
it 20
and then
seconds. Yeah, 20 seconds. I would
yeah.
say, but I just want to say one again, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll try to look out more for your rooms. But I would say, I think if the GOP, which is where the money's at, I think if they would invest more into the communities, into local candidates, talking about locally, into people, not just because of the color of skin, but maybe in those communities, you can find people. I think you could get to that point where you get back to the days of where Jesse Owens and Sammy Davis Jr. were Republicans and James Brown and all those folks, all the good folks who were Republicans.
No,
Hopefully
I
one day.
totally agree with you there. The Republican Party, if they want to stay in power for a long time, then you have to compete with the Democrats. The Democrats, their only focus is power, and they're great at it, and they are wealthy. the Democrat Party is wealthy. They're more wealthier than Republican Party. And it's a lot of money that they throw behind candidates. They throw not so much in community so that it could be better, but they're throw it behind certain people to convince that have influence on the over other people, especially in local areas. So Democrats spend money. Republicans, the GOP, they really do have to start spending money and investing and reinvesting in black people converting over, or black people who are already Republicans that could do that conversion to break down the blue wall even further. They really do need to invest money into that, and they're not doing that, and that's going to be a problem, and that's going to hurt them in the midterms if they don't get it together. But go
Yeah,
ahead.
just as a quick number,
Real quick before
there's
Tom
five black
goes.
Republican lawmakers in Congress right now, and there's 62 Democrats in the Congressional Black Caucus.
Real quick before Tom goes. Tom, you brought up you're more of a Democrat of JFK. So back in the day, right? Unions were great for the people, right? They fought for safety conditions, better pay. The unions of the old, the unions of today are more of a political party than fighting for the workers. That's the same with the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party of JFK was for the people. The Democrat Party of today, absolutely not. The Democrat Party of today is for the minor loud crowd that want to, mutilate children.
Yeah, it totally changed the Democrat Party. So I want to get to Pope. And okay, Lamar was up here, but then you bumped Lamar down. I don't know
I
what
didn't.
you're
No,
doing, Dina.
I didn't bump him. I wanted Lamar
Oh,
up on
maybe
stage.
he dropped
Hopefully,
down on his own. So all
yeah.
right, so I'll get to Pope, Sway Me, D, and I'm gonna get to Pope, then D, then Sway Me, and then I see you, Art, and then last. Oh, and then we have last Black Jedi. So go ahead, Pope. Pepe. I'm sorry,
Pepe,
you
yeah,
probably like, who the
It's
hell she
Pepe that
talking to?
No,
Pepe then D, and then I think Sway Me were next. So
Yes, I'm
Pepe
sorry.
D, Sway Me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
so
Sometimes I have dyslexia. Pepe, sorry,
so
sorry.
I'll just say this. I've been listening. I still don't have the full story about what happened in Texas. Once all the details comes out, I'll make a judgment then. But I do hear a lot of things, and I do think that a lot of this brings me back to the OJ days. A lot of black people that are definitely acknowledge that, yeah, he probably killed them. I mean, but they were rooting for him to get off. Why? Because, well, I mean, I guess they were standing by their. He was one of their people. But that being said, I do see a lot of black people uh, prematurely jumping the gun and not only defending him, but blaspheming the dead white boy Austin. Now, I did hear Anthony. I agree with most of the stuff that he says. I've seen him on YouTube and stuff. But yes, you're right. You don't put your hands on another person. If Austin got arrested for that or suspended from school for touching him, yeah, I mean, there's consequences with that. Now, I mean, if some old lady smacks me in the face, I'm not punching her in the mouth. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to plunge a knife in somebody's chest for trying to push me along. It's just I don't resort to that. Now, when you have an overreaction, you're also in the wrong. And when it involves deadly force, I mean, that's that's going to be life changing, for the person who does it as well. So I do think that while I wholeheartedly agree, you don't put your hands on people. And yes, you should expect that you don't know what kind of reaction you're going to get from this person. I know that. That's why I keep my fucking hands to myself. Because I could get stabbed or shot. But with that being said, you can't allow people to plunge a knife in somebody's chest just because, well, he shoved them along. I'll just land there.
Appreciate it.
Dina,
Lamar came up, but then he dropped back down. We'll keep a space
okay,
open for
maybe you
him.
have a connection problem.
Yeah, let's
Um,
go to D and then Sway Me.
okay.
Okay, so just to touch on Florida not going to elect Byron Donalds, I actually disagree with that. I think Byron Donalds will be the next governor. I don't think anybody's going to vote for Ron DeSantis's wife, and regardless if he says that she's not running, I don't believe that. I don't believe a word that man says. He ruins all credibility when he went against Trump. So I don't think anybody is gonna vote for her, and he already backed Byron Donalds. So I think that 100%. Byron Donalds is going to be the next. I mean, we're talking about Florida, so we're not talking about a purple state. We're talking about a red state. So I believe that Byron Donalds absolutely will be. And if I'm back and forth, but my main vote is in New York City. So I mean, New York State, whatever. So I can't vote in Florida, but if I could, I'd vote for him. Now, just to touch a while back, I don't know if the person is still here, and I don't know who it was, but they mentioned something about percentages. But what they didn't mention is that the Black community holds up to 14% of America, but is making up 55% of the homicides in America. So they failed to mention that. So I just wanted to touch on that. I don't even know if they're still here. And as far as comparing sides, again, I don't know how many times I've said this, but I really do think we need to stop doing that, because I can do that too. I can do that all day. I grew up in the Bronx, New York. I seen some crazy stuff. I didn't come from a little suburban neighborhood. I'm not a little white girl. I went to an all black school. I seen some shit, and I grew up when the mafia was crazy deep in an all Italian neighborhood. I can play sides all day. You want to talk about Breonna Taylor? Somebody that was like my brother, okay? Same exact situation. Got blown away at 5 a.m. for a no-knock warrant. Same exact situation. That didn't make national news because he was white, okay? And then my husband's very best friend was 15 years old, 16 years old. He did 15 years in prison for stabbing somebody, okay, for a fist fight. But this was all in New York City. So again, we can go back and forth and we can compare stories all day. And I said this in another space. I wish Daniel Penny was on the train when I was attacked by 3 individuals. Okay, I'm not even going to say their race, because let's leave their race out of it. But I was attacked by 3 individuals. One was a man. Okay, and I was flung across the whole train. And this was in 2016 when everybody was hot over Trump becoming president. So I wish Daniel Penny was on the train when I was assaulted and flung across the train, because nobody did shit. And again, I'm just so sick of it. Who made this about race? How did this get so crazy? And it's grown adults coming for children. And then again, I'm seeing a lot of stuff in these spaces, a lot of crazy things. Like people are replaying things over and over, but they're not looking into anything else on the other side. So they're only seeing one side of this. Okay, so again, we still have very little facts. We maybe 2 or 3 more facts came out that really don't tell us much about the case. It just tells us much about who's now representing Anthony, and we don't really have any facts about the situation. But if you look up, I posted. Well, actually, I needed Peter to do it for me because I don't know how to post in the Nest. But I put up there today about how one of Anthony's friends. I'm sorry, one of Austin's friends, who came to his defense and said, I was right there. You guys, you're crazy. Like, this doesn't happen. And grown adults are coming for him, saying, you're a traitor. You're going against your race. You're a traitor. Coming for a 17-year-old boy. So again, this is getting to be so crazy. And it's almost like people want a race war. It's almost like you guys, like, we have to be on the defense. I feel like we don't even know these 2 people. We don't even know these families, and we have grown adults coming out calling for like a race war because of the situation that we don't even. It didn't even go to trial yet. I don't know who was speaking before, but this guy said, he said everything great. Hello, am I here?
Yes, we hear
Oh.
you.
Good hear you.
No,
Yeah.
so I'm just saying, I almost feel like I have to be on the defense just because of this issue, just because I'm white. I almost feel like I have to be on the defense because of this issue, and it's just causing unnecessary drama that we don't need, and everybody's struggling we're at a time that everybody's struggling, and taking an issue that we know very little facts, and then I go into these spaces, and the things that I'm hearing into these spaces is like insane. It's like you guys are just putting words in people's mouth, or saying, oh, the father said this because we know what he was thinking. You don't know what he was thinking. You people don't know what he was thinking. You don't know anything. Nobody knows anything. None of us. And I think this entire situation blew up and it's out of control. and nobody. I think a lot of people are going to be feeling really stupid. That's it. I'll land there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think we're gonna get some surprises, but I don't and this, and I don't care if it's an all white space, honey. I come up in the room and I don't be defense. I don't care, like, don't, just because you white and you in a predominantly black space, don't feel like you have to always be on the defense. Cause if I'm in a room and it's predominantly white, I'ma still speak my mind. It's like, it's, I don't, cause, and that's where, and I going back, I guess going back to disrespect, what he was saying earlier in the space, that's where it's like, you don't, I don't, you can't walk through life, don't walk through life comparing everything by race. And I really say this more so, well, not just to black people, but to white people too. And then sometimes white people get defensive when you talk about their cognitive dissonance. They get defensive when you talk about them. And listen, if I could talk about you, then you should be able to talk about me. This is a free country. White people got shit with them that they need to mentally work out. It's the same with black people. But so yeah,
yeah,
so don't feel like you gotta be
it's
on the
true, man.
defense, because you have a right to say what you want to say.
People are people, right? And I know everybody looks through their own special lens because of the trauma they carry and the things that they've been through. And I'm not trying to give short shrift to the fact that racism does still exist in this country, and it existed even more acutely uh, years ago. But at the same time, like, I feel we're at a point now where you have equality in a lot of spaces that you wouldn't have had it in the past, right? Where you didn't have it in the past. And so, just having anecdotal evidence or anecdotal stories from friends that I'm with or friends that I have, they were able to make it. And so I don't see a lot of the things that people talk about up here. And I think when you buy into this Ibram X. Kendi narrative and white fragility narrative from Robin DiAngelo, you're just adding fuel to the fire and just continuing the identity politics, which only serves to undermine everybody in the country to invite a communist element in. And I'll land there.
Well, and I would say this too, Peter, to you, and then I'm gonna go to Swamy. Just because you may not see something, and that's fine, that's you, because a lot of times there are things that I see things, there are things that I'm not going to see that someone who is gay sees, um and there are things that you're not going to see that someone who is black experience. So systemically, as far as when we talk about the laws and everything, yes, we have equality, but a lot of times black people are speaking from everyday experience dealing with white individuals, especially at the workforce, when you're dealing with a lot of microaggressions.
That's
So
a
in the
valid
South,
point, Dana. It's valid.
yeah.
Yep.
So and so when I so when you say that to a white person, yes, you do have microaggression tendencies. They get defensive as hell or anything. So it's like, okay, it's okay for you to critique us, but I can't critique you, because some of the things I may critique about you is a fact, especially if it's a individual. So you have white people as a collective, and then you have white people individuals. So there have been a number of white individuals that I had to deal with in corporate, when you talk about microaggressions and sometimes just plain bigotry. And but then you have white people as a group that, the violent history here in America, and we're not there anymore, so you just want to forget about it. And I think that white people sometimes don't understand the psychological damage that you do to yourselves when you try to not so much dismiss, but not recognize certain things, especially historical incidents that happen to a particular group. So, because everybody say, "Oh, we all just need to love each other and get along." Yeah, we do, but in order to do that, you got to understand what happened in the past and accept it and take accountability, not for you personally, but maybe in your lineage, and or maybe in your neighbors, or maybe you've seen people, a group of people, try to prevent another group of people for by abstracting resources in your community. I see it's all these little things that happen on a local level. And this is why I'm saying it's very important for people to focus on what is happening locally and not on a grand stage, because the grand stage can manipulate you. Look at what's happening in your own backyard and you'll find a lot of inconsistencies, not just with white people, but with black people too. So go ahead, Sweeney.
Excellent point, Dana. But Lamar's back on stage. I know he was actually in the queue before Sway Me. If we can go to him, guys. Also like,
Peter and
retweet,
Dana,
and
can I say
bookmark the
something real
space.
quick to D? I just want to say sorry about you. I
Sure.
just want to say my heart goes out to like you were assaulted. So I'm sorry to hear that, and that's unfortunate. So just wanted to say that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Peter,
Appreciate you,
Art's
brother.
hand been up for an hour.
I know we're going to get to Art. We called him multiple times and he wasn't there. But we're going to go to Lamar first because he's been trying to get in for a while, and then we'll go to Sway Me, then Art, and then we'll continue the rotation. Guys, please like, retweet, and bookmark the space. It pushes the algorithm out, makes for better conversation. And let's get back into it. Lamar, you have the floor.
Thanks, Dana, Peter. Great conversation as always. I'll try to keep it brief. To answer your question, it's complicated. I try not to speak in absolutes, but I admit that I do speak in generalities because we just have to. And I would say there are certainly some black conservatives that do overlook racism, but I would argue that the vast majority of black conservatives look at racism try to look at racism through an objective lens, and that is um, apply the branding when it can be proven, but we cannot see racism in everything that goes against our interests. And I remember when I served in the U.S. military, I had black mentors that were senior non-commissioned officers, and there was an adage that went, if everything is racism, then nothing is racism. Because what would typically happen is when something unfavorable happened in someone's career, their duty station within their unit, they would immediately cry racism. And I'm old enough to remember when there were social sensitivities to what people called the quote race card. And typically this would happen around performance appraisal time, where if you got a negative performance appraisal, now all of a sudden your squad leader, your platoon sergeant is a racist. But they weren't a racist before you got that performance appraisal. I, I think the issue is the nation is primed to see race in nearly all things. And I think a great example of this, someone previously brought up the O.J. Simpson trial. I was a child in elementary school when that trial was going on. But I do remember, without question, the racial animus that stemmed from it. But with that, I think we also have to be careful because I think we're experiencing grief fatigue, and what I mean by that is if a claim is made often enough, it starts to lose its sting. So another instance of when I was in the military, I remember in Colorado Springs at the Air Force Academy. I was Army, but everyone in the military heard about this. There was an OSI investigation into racial slurs being written on the dorm room doors of African American cadets. Well, after OSI did its investigation, what they found was the black students admitted to writing it on their own doors to then blame white students that they didn't like. I'm not saying that that is happening all the time, but I do find it strange that racism is so prevalent. Some black people have to create it. That's what I find strange. So I think, just to land my plane, I think
Can
that
you
black
expound on that a little more?
say again.
Can you expound on your last point a little more?
No, so the point is, if racism is everywhere, where I hear some black people say this, not all, but some black people claim that we live in this systemic racist society where black people, from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed, are dealing with racism from on a spectrum from microaggressions to damn near the Klan showing up at your house. If that's so prevalent, how is it that black people have to fake hate crimes on themselves? Jesse Smollett, the U.S. Air Force Academy, there's example after example where this happens, and that to me logically doesn't make any sense. So
Those are opportunistic. Those are opportunistic events. That's what that is,
that's fair. That's
and that's
fair.
very isolated, by the way.
Like I said, granted, I didn't say that that's happening all the time, but I would just say just to land.
I'm
Explain
I'm
then
I'm
why.
trying to
Hey,
figure well,
do
I'm trying to
do.
figure out what your point is though by saying that.
Yeah,
That's what I
explain why the Klan exists, but the Black Panthers don't. Explain why the FBI
can
Well,
I
the
can I
Klan
finish
destroyed
is
the
finish
not
Black
really
knocking
quick?
Panthers,
on
but
nobody's
didn't
door
destroy the
in
Klan.
Can I just finish
2025.
really quickly?
Go ahead.
Yeah, guys,
Yeah,
let
just
Marl respond. You guys, you peppered him with a bunch of questions. Let him have his response, and then
I
we can go
just
back and forth
yeah.
and
one just
I
dialogue.
was
one
just gonna land
response.
really. I was just gonna land really quickly by saying I think what Black conservatives are waiting for are more fact points about the event before we claim that racism is blanking everything. And I'll finish.
Oh, okay.
Sway me.
Good evening, Dana and
Hey.
Peter. How are you?
Great,
Um,
welcome.
okay, so I'm gonna just say this. Until I have full citizenship rights and I have been my people have been repaired, there's no way that there's no racism in America, right? It's a systemic. The whole country was built on it, to plunder our wealth. So even right now, we have not received the protections as full Americans, right? With citizenship that built, developed, and advanced this nation, have fought in every war, have contributed multitudes, countless innovations so that this country could advance into superpower. So, yeah, it exists. I'm a conservative and I am a radical Black Republican, right? I like to say that because I know of the plight of our ancestors, what they did, even in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, working in government to represent Black American Negro freedmen. So I just had to put that out there. Other people's experiences are going to be different from ours, right? Different human experiences. We have a lot of people that are now immigrating to America. They don't have the history. They are not even learning the history so that we can stand together as Americans first. But also wanted to say that when I hear individuals thinking that certain individuals in Congress right now are representing Black Americans, that's not true, right? Right now, a lot of them are just going along with a plan that is not what Black Americans want for ourselves. So when you mention someone like Wesley Hunt, does not represent the Black family, not the Black American Negro family. Byron Donalds does not represent the Black American Negro family. Winsome Sears does not represent the Black American Negro family. So our politics are not the same. Our politics do not add up, and there's no way we can converge that right now. Because once again, I will have to state, I, my ancestors from the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment was added for full citizenship and protections on this soil, and we yet to receive that equality. And then I'm gonna just go to this too, just to highlight. Affirmative action was fought by our ancestors. We even lost some of our prophets, leaders, right, in that movement, civil rights movement. And what we've seen is everyone else prosper off of that work that we did, right? And there's literal statements from senators and Congress people that literally stated they were amending the affirmative action so that you can include white women and everybody else. But they did no work for that. And that was really for our people to coming out of Jim Crow, right? Black codes. So that's racism. But anyway, I'm going to go to the case. I'm really not hearing anyone speak of mental health and how people, you cannot encroach people's in their personal space. When you are encroaching people in their personal space and you're in their space and harming them, they feel you can harm them and their body. They have every right to react. Every right to react. And in the state of Florida, I went back and I read the Stand Your Ground. So, I'm just gonna say the law is there. There's also deadly force can be used if you are feeling threatened. No one can tell anyone else who or when they feel threatened, right? We have plenty of people out here suffering from PTSD. You all don't think it's real, but it's real. And you never know what people have gone through. So, the self defense, I'm going to go with that because that's what he's going with. And until I hear anything differently from his attorneys or whatever, that's it. I'm down with the young man. I do not want him to lose his life as well. And we've got to teach our people to respect people's space. You have to learn to respect people's space, especially when they warn you. So I'm going to land with that. Thank you, Dana. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Swami. One quick question about what you said. When you said that those representatives don't represent the American Negro, what did you mean by that?
They are not of our lineage. They are not a Black American Negro freedmen. They are not there. Well, Wesley Hunt may be, but he still does not represent the Black American family.
What are the policies that you would say would make them more in line with representing the Black American Negro family?
Well, I'm gonna just say this. Okay, for one, Byron Donalds made it pretty clear that he would not support Black American Negro freedmen with reparations. That is going to be a major, major problem because guess what? The First Amendment says what? You have the right to file grievances and redress against your government. So that in itself, for him, I will not be voting for him. I am in Florida. He will not get my vote. Right? We are not the same. Our politics are not the same. Black American Negro freedmen are established founding population here. And at this point in time, it is evident that we need to ethno aggregate from others in the society because now they're coming into our politics and we have different problems that needs to be solved that have been ongoing for a very, very long time. And everybody now seems to want to come into politics and ignore and or not or no, here's the thing that I learned. You can't pass any legislation specifically for us, right? A founding population of Americans. When all the laws were made based on us. But everybody else can come here under the laws that we went and fought for ourselves. And they receive all the benefits and the rewards from the law. So that's the difference. That's a huge difference for me.
I understand what you said. Do you? I don't know if you've heard about Lloyd Kelly and what he's saying that it should be called restitution for 246 years of stolen labor, and that's a better tactic to go after actually getting it. Do you agree with that, or do you think it should stay as
I do
reparations?
not. Harms and injuries. There's crimes against humanity that never ever expire. So there's crimes, there's harms and injuries, and that's a part of the repair, as well as some of the doctrines or documents that were signed that's supposed to be making us whole, full citizens. There's no reason why Black American Negro freedmen should be included with immigrants, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be at the top of the food chain. And when we are the wealth and capital and have contributed so much to this nation, and how illegal immigrants and other immigrants can come to America and be on top of us and then try at the same time use our plight and our narrative. That's wild to me, and it doesn't add up in my mind. It's not logical. I'll land.
I appreciate your submission.
I,
Uh,
you know what,
Dana, where are we going next?
Michael was next. I did write him down, and then I see Carrie and Body. Art. We
Yo,
we done came to Art so many damn times.
Yeah, Art, are you there? Yeah, he's not there.
I don't know if
what's
he's.
going
All right,
on,
let's
Pete?
let's go to Michael. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, Dana? Yeah, I'm just saying that black people, I mean black conservatives definitely everybody's actually overlooking racism, like especially pertaining to this case. I know for a fact, like if you get on this app and you tell somebody, oh yeah, I sell drugs, they'll call you the worst piece of shit, the worst person in the world. They'll tell you that you're killing people, right? But then they'll go support the killing of somebody else with a knife. So it's like, why are you supporting that? Why you supporting that now? Why? Because it's a white boy that he killed. You know what I'm saying? It's like you picking and choosing. You get what I'm saying? You picking and choosing. Like, and the reason why you picking and choosing is because one was white, one was black. You know what I'm saying? And you also have, speaking on the race, you also have white people being so biased about this case too. You know what I'm saying? It's just like race always gonna play a goddamn factor. Like it's just in your DNA. Naturally, you want to see the person that look like you win, and you want to see the person that don't look like you lose. It's like, it's just something you can't run from. But I just feel like, you know what I'm saying, it comes down to right or wrong. People gotta realize what message are you sending out to not just black, white, to all races. You send the message you sending out is that it's okay if you lose in a fight to go ahead and just stab somebody or just kill them. And me, where I come from, um, I just can't support the killing of somebody for losing a fight. You know what I'm saying? Like how Shorty said she's from Brooklyn, she seen some shit. Laws is different up there. You know what I'm saying? So it's the race is always such a big factor, and a lot of us need to get out of the past. I mean, like you'll get on this app and you'll hear people talk about slavery all day, like as if they was there. Not saying they don't got a right to talk about it or feel how they feel, but they talk like they was there. You feel me? Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, man, we need to really
Coon.
start coming in as a fucking human being race, man. Stop coming
Excuse
in
me.
as
What did you
a
call Michael? I wanted to
You,
hear what you
you can go.
called
You can go
Michael.
ahead and boot me, bro. Go ahead and do it.
you said I'm a
You
coon.
know
No,
what
it's
I
What
okay.
said.
happened?
Chalk,
I
You know what I
respect it
Chalk. I
said.
want to understand this. I want to understand this, and
Because
maybe
that's
Lamar,
bullshit.
you could
I
jump in.
respect it.
What
I
did you say?
respect it.
What was
Because
the
that I
epitaph you
called him
called
a
Michael?
coon. I called him a coon because that's bullshit.
I'm
You
a
don't
coon.
get on here.
I'm a
You don't
coon.
get on here and police black people and tell them how they should feel and what they should say and
What I
what they
tell
should talk
you?
about.
What did I
Let
say?
me tell you something.
What
Let
I
me
say you
tell you
should feel
something.
about though?
It
What
has
did I
been
say?
hold on. It's been scientifically proven that slavery has altered the DNA of black people. Do you
I I,
understand that?
I know that.
Inherited, no,
I'm a black man
inherited
too.
PTSD.
I'm a black man
Inherited.
too, bro.
So when you hear black people talk about slavery as if they were there, bro, let me tell you something.
But listen, see,
No,
you ain't listening to
no.
what I said. You
I
just
am
take
listening to
one
what you
thing.
said.
Victim mentality.
I
Bro, I
said
don't need
this.
a victim mentality.
Hold on. I said this.
You need to learn who you're
I said
talking
people
to.
talk about it as if they was there, but not saying they don't have a right to talk about it, bro. They have a right to talk about it. But you hear it every day on this app as if they was there. Come on now. Like, I'm just being real.
So why
Typically
did
hear those
Because
things on
because you know
multiple
why?
interject? Wait one
situations.
second. So what? I agree with what Michael just said. So why are you calling him a coon for saying that?
Because Dana, here's the thing. When you talk about what black people talk about as if they were there, you have to understand it is an ongoing thing with this whole racial stuff and this slavery stuff. This stuff is ongoing. It is a open wound that is this is not something that can be swept under the rug. And
Hey
if you
man, listen. I had a black man tell me the other day in a space he'd rather join up with the KKK to get all the immigrants out because I told him I'm half Jamaican and I'm half American.
okay, here we go.
So
So
That makes
Now
sense
we
let
now.
me
It
talking.
makes
explain
sense.
he's
Here we
this.
like,
go.
I don't because I don't want it to be a shadow match of each other. And real quick, did you drop down Noble the Noble? Because I saw her up here.
No, I didn't.
Oh,
She
okay.
dropped. I haven't dropped anybody, Dana. I've
Okay.
been making sure
Okay,
everyone gets rotated
because I
in.
didn't
Yeah.
see her when I said because I was gonna go to Carrie, then the Noble, then Last Black, then Body, but then I didn't see her anymore. But all right, so real quick,
Noble, if you're in the room, we'll correct request and we'll bring you right back up.
yeah. So to Michael's point, like so this is the thing, and I'm gonna push back on you a little bit, Choke. Because people are quick to call someone coon or off cold, whatever. And just because you disagree with their perspective, because I agree with Michael, like yes, I'm very well versed in slavery. On my father's mother's side, they walked off the plantation, but on my father's side, he came here from England. So, and then on my mother's side, my mother, they're natives. Mother, father, slave. So I'm well versed in it, but no, I was not there. And I'm glad that I wasn't born at that time. And I love them and I respect all these people that chose to continue to be slaves for survival because I'm here today. But then there are a lot of black people who would say that why didn't these slaves, it should have been more uprisings. Yes, there were uprisings, but it should have been more. Slavery shouldn't have
There
lasted
were.
for 200, basically saying slavery shouldn't have lasted here for 200 plus years. If it was going to, if it probably should have been cut 100 years short or whatever. So there are a lot of black people who do make that argument. But then again, at the same time, we know after slavery, we had the Reconstruction and black people sat in the sun for 10 years because you had a lot of black men in Congress, in state legislation, but then Jim Crow ushered in. So we talk about politics. But just because you have a black person, like, why is it that you feel as though someone is a coon because they're saying that they don't look at slavery as a wound for them? Because I don't do tribalism. I can tell you right now, I don't care if somebody call me a coon. I really don't give a F. But I don't do tribalism. I don't, because I have come across black people who stabbed me just as quicker if it was somebody white. I have come across white people who, yeah, I could do business with or who would invest in something who got money. But we know there is a wealth gap. There always been a wealth gap. But the thing is, if you keep festering at a wound, it never heals. So when is the conversation going to shift from a wound of slavery
Uh
to
huh.
healing that wound and progressing
Hmm.
further and really, bridging, fixing issues that we need fixed within our group? That's what I'm saying.
And
And as,
choke
I'm
and
glad
choke.
you asked that. I'm glad you asked that, Dana. How did like when does that wound heal, and how do you heal that wound? You understand? That is the biggest. That is the biggest, best question you could have
No, I'm
asked.
not asking that question. Maybe you need that question answered because
No, I don't
I
need it
don't need that
because
question answered for me because it's
Dana.
it's not a wound for me. I'm just saying if you and it wasn't a really a question for it to be answered. I'm not asking you to answer that question, but if
Okay.
you feel it's a wound for you, then yes, you should.
Oh, you mean personally?
Well, you said but you don't speak for all black people, but you just said it's a wound for some black people, and it is. But I don't,
For a lot of black
huh?
people. For a lot of
Yeah,
black
for a lot of
people.
black people, but not this black person. So and
Okay,
but
so it's a
so
personal
so so
thing.
my
So
so no, this is what I'm getting at. So am I a coon for saying that slavery is not a wound for me?
Like right,
that
like
that is
yeah.
your personal opinion. But what this brother did, this brother got on here and just talked about the majority of black people that he heard on this app. That's what he said.
Yeah,
So
what I mean by that,
so
look,
that was
choke.
my response. And then you doubled down to say that, you got offended because someone said you're, half Jamaican or whatever the case is. You know what I mean? Like, I already know where this is going, and I don't want to blow Dana room up, but that's your issue. So you're
Nah,
gonna
it
so
ain't it
you're gonna
ain't
hold on. So you're gonna come back in this room and fire off on Black
Mhm.
Americans and talk about, what we talk about in other
I,
spaces and say what we can and what we can't do.
no, no,
Like, this is
what I'm trying
BS.
to what I'm
And
trying
then,
to
and
get
but don't worry about it, brother. You're not the only one in here. You're not the
okay.
only
No,
coon in
let
here.
let
Now I
Michael
leave.
What
respond.
up
Choke.
what
Let
up
Michael
I'm
respond
about
to
to
you.
leave. I listen. I'm about to start another space.
what I'm trying to get at with you though, bro, is listen, I'm all reparations, full reparations, all that. I'm just telling you that the amount of times I done heard slavery on this app, it seems like they were
But something
there.
got to
You
be
get
done
what I'm
about
saying?
it. Nothing was
Wait,
never
wait,
And
wait.
done
that was
So
about
400
okay,
it.
years
so
ago.
something. Wait,
It was
That's
never done
all.
something.
about it.
Okay, so you're saying something has to be done in the terms of
Yes.
reparations. All right. So why is it so? I'm not disagreeing with you, Choke, but I'm not disagreeing with Michael because this is how I look at it. Yes, something needs to be done as far as reparations, but why is the talk? And I have to echo Michael. Why is it that the talking is always about the wound and not about the solution to fix the wound or to heal that wound? See, there's no spaces being held on,
Huh?
there's
Right.
no spaces being held on solutions, right? And I'm
What?
not talking about, this is people who actually have organizations going on in their state, in their communities. There's several people that I personally know that question or that statement is not for them. It is not for them to talk to hold spaces and talk about what they're doing locally in their organization, because that's certain things don't need to be talked about. I'm talking about the general people. We are all the general regular people that hold these X spaces, because we live in all over this country, but we're here together having a discussion. But why is it that we are not holding spaces on discussions of possible resolutions and solutions? And I'm saying, so
Right.
I'm
all
trying to figure out.
organizational heads are exempt. But our regular folk, me, you, Michael, everyone else, in general, we are not holding those spaces.
Yes, we are.
No, we're not.
I'm Dana. So you're saying that we're not holding spaces to come up with
No,
solutions.
I can no, and we could argue all night long about that, honey. No, we're not.
You're saying that we're
Because
not.
the
Oh
spaces that
wow.
are being
Like for
held,
real though.
Oh
the
wow.
spaces that are being held, they talk about, okay, cut the check. Okay, yeah, we know you quote unquote
Mm-hmm.
cut the check, but how you gonna get it? They don't talk about how they gonna get it, because they don't know how to get it.
Right.
Oh
You
wow.
can't talk about multiple solutions if you don't know how to get it.
Right. Like
Dana.
I be on
Dana.
some let's get this money together type shit in these spaces. I be on some okay, like all right, I'm a day
We got the
trader.
drug dealer gonna
You know what I'm
legal
saying?
advice.
Like
Crazy,
what
crazy.
is we gonna do? We gonna get in the market. We gonna start. You know what I'm saying?
No,
I be
brother.
on that
No,
type
brother.
shit. You know
No,
what I'm
brother.
saying?
No, brother. Reparations is about accountability.
No, but
That's
okay.
no, no. Listen, listen, listen.
I know that, bro.
Reparations
I'm
is about accountability.
listen.
We don't
I'm
need
a
to go.
black man too,
Okay,
though. I'm a
fine. You know
black man
what? You want
too.
to bang? Hold on, hold
I'm
on,
a black man
hold
too,
on.
bro.
If you want to
Michael, let
bring
Choke
day
respond.
trading, if
Let
you want to
Choke
bring
respond,
day
Mike.
trading, if you want to bring day trading into it, the stock market and all that. Okay, fine. You know what? Black bodies were used to back the stock market. Now,
Well,
now, let's bring that
wait,
into it.
okay, so then
That's
let me
facts.
clarify some
Right now,
things,
let's
because
go
That's
there.
wait,
facts.
hold on
So
for a
thank
second.
you.
Hold on. Let me clarify some things, because then I gotta go to Carrie. I gotta go to Carrie. Um,
And guys, if you spoke, we're going to drop you just because we have more requests to come up. We'll rotate you back in if you want to come back up to speak.
and so, and this is, I agree with you, Choke, on this, because this is why, Choke, we need more spaces or actual solutions. Because Michael, if you're talking about telling Black people to get into crypto or stock market, or how to make money, that's separate from how to get reparations. And and so, you, when you say, Choke, accountability, well, accountability of who? The our federal government, first of all, you got to ask them to sue them. So in order for you to sue your state or to sue the federal government, you need their fucking permission. And I'm making it very plain, right? So they're not going to take accountability by you trying to make them feel bad. There are other ways to make someone, you have to make them take accountability. You have to damn
Thank
near
you.
somewhere demand it. But to my whole point,
Hmm.
what I'm saying, Choke, is that conversation isn't being had, and we disagree
And
on that.
Now, Dana, let me.
and choke.
Can I agree? Hold
Black
on, hold on.
bodies
Wait a
was
minute. Wait a
used for
minute.
this whole
Wait
goddamn
a minute.
country. Don't tell me
Can
just
I
about
agree
no
with
stock
you?
market. It was
Hold
used
on,
for this
brother.
whole country,
Hold on
black
one
bodies.
second, brother. Hold on one second. I want to respond to Dana. Dana, I 100% agree with you, because you know what? I had a conversation. Now, let me tell you where I stand out on reparations. I definitely believe my people deserve it, right? Right? But I don't believe that your oppressor is going to willingly give you anything, right? Definitely, because it's going to tear down multiple institutions if you do that, right? Now, I'm gonna go ahead and say it because I'm just crazy enough to say it. I personally am ready to demand. You understand? Like, I'm ready to get on some other shit behind this because I'm tired of the rigmarole.
What's the other
I'm
shit?
tired. You don't try to get me
Well, okay,
incarcerated, Dana.
so
Don't do that.
I knew where you're going with
You
that.
try. You trying to
And
get
I
me
can
locked
tell you
up.
right now, without a shadow of a doubt, you ain't gonna get shit doing it that way.
How much you want to bet?
Everything, no, I would,
I
I
I
would
bet
bet
you
Lamar,
I
you.
can.
Lamar,
Wait,
are you hearing this?
one second, because I don't want nobody else to jump in between me and you, Choke, right now. Um, what you're talking about, it will never get reparations. It's never gonna work. You know how you get reparations? With pen and paper, pen and paper, pen and motherfucking paper. And part of that is,
You said drones.
we literally, no, we literally have a block that's supposed to represent us in Congress, right? That's a
Mm-hmm.
voting block, the CBC, and they don't do
Mm-hmm.
shit for us. So Congress controls the purse. That's where our reparations is at
And who controls Congress?
wait, let me finish. On a federal level, that's where the reparations is at on a federal level. So if those CBC assholes ain't doing shit, then where's the conversation that we need to be having on these said spaces on how to make them open up that motherfucking purse?
May I interject,
Okay,
Dana?
so real
Go ahead.
quick,
Wait. I want
so
Sway me to interject, and then I really have to go to
all
Carrie.
right.
And hold on one second, Dana. I just want to give a caveat. Choke was not threatening anything. He was actually talking hypothetically, theoretically, and educationally.
Yes,
And he's a good guy. He was just talking about a character in a book he's writing.
right. Go ahead, Sway.
Now, this is what I'm talking about, where we have others that are in our politics and in the CBC that are not us, right? We voted them in with identity politics, and now they built their enclaves and they're sitting there going against us. This is exactly what I'm talking about, because I mean, reparations has been ongoing with our ancestors. Even Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was going into reparations. We all know this. So we have solutions. We have groups and individuals that already did studies. We have many of Black American Negro freedmen that are in these different industries, from Harriet Washington, that has already written a book on a medical apartheid in America. And so to me, it's very simple to get some things going if we had the representation, right? So we've always had this representation as well, from these others that want to include everyone of African descent, instead of pushing legislation that says Black American Negro freedmen, or even just freedmen. So yes, you are. I do believe I'm aligning with you about the pen and the paper, and that's the
Not
reason why
enough.
we're delineating and making sure that we enumerate our people, and we get that paperwork done specifically for our people. But that's where the interference is coming in, and I
Right.
see. I again say that the others cannot represent us
Mhm.
But
in
it's
no
not
way.
enough though,
All
sister.
right.
That's not
So hold
enough.
on for a second,
Pen-
Choke. Hold on for a second. And Peter, if you could bring up the George, can you bring him up? I want to go to Carrie, and
Yep.
then Body and Last Black. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hey, good evening. It's a good conversation, but we have people that are working on reparations, and we have people that are working on our identity and gatekeeping those things. We have people doing all types of stuff. We talk solutions all the time. I'm in an educational room every single night. Um, but if people are going to just refuse to understand that there's Black people from all over the world here, you want to say that there's hate crime hoaxes going on and Black people, and do you really think that it's Black Americans doing hate hoaxes? We're not even getting any benefit when a real hate crime happens to us. Um, the Democrats in the 14th Amendment hearings never mentioned us once. So if they're just moving on, I guess, they don't mention us in the hearings on the things that are really important. I think the 14th Amendment is very important. Then we're not going to be, as, we're not going to receive your advice. Okay, if somebody decides to go to the other side for whatever reason, I understand that Byron Donalds isn't Black American, but he doesn't like the smut in schools. So I'll support him on that. He's not for reparations. That's jerky. But he does more for me than the Democrats do, because they don't even mention us. If we're to criticize us for making other options, or to, say that we just don't know what's going on in the government and we just don't understand and stuff like that. We do understand. We understand what zero is. And the Democrats have given Black America zero. And that's not hard to understand. I don't need to be super smart to explain that. Zero. So there's nothing for us to there. You have no leverage over us. So when you come and give us advice from, from a Democrat side, we're not going to hear that. We're defending ourselves and we are doing our legal stuff that we need to do. And we're discussing our identity and things that are important in current events. We're doing all these things. I don't like when people say that, oh, we're just talking about nothing and nonsense and we're just cut the check, Dana. I think we're doing more than that. We're doing a lot. And the constant criticism is not cool. The moral relativism is not cool. We're doing okay. Everyone's attacking us, and the solution is going to be always is going to be ceasing of the action of attacking. You're going to have to, whoever you are on the other side, you're going to have to stop doing the actions. That's part of the solution. We can't solution our way out of it without you ceasing the attacks. And so it's going to take two.
You
So
know,
that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Wait
it's
one
going to.
second, Choke. 1 second. So I agree with you, Carrie. Are you saying without the other side, meaning other than black? Correct.
Correct.
Yes, and I agree,
The
and that's
people of color.
you're
I mean,
absolutely right. That's exactly what it's going to take as well. You're absolutely right. But what I do for me, what I do, this is what I know. I'm not going to say this is my opinion. Dr. Amos Wilson is my favorite quote that I remember of his. He said that we are the forecasters, the politicians is just the presenters. So even if it's a quote unquote white person or a white politician and they were like, I'm not for reparations, that's cool. But see, where that person, depending on his district and who votes for him, and on his state, see, money talks and everything else walks, and also power. So, and this is what I'm saying, like, I don't never come after people who actually have organizations going on the ground in different states, because you're building up your power base when you have these organizations, and I hope that that's what they're doing. Some people, I do see them doing that. And so people, especially white people, they don't take you seriously if you're not showing any type of power position at all. And I don't care if it's a white person that's agree. I be like, you a whole lie. White people I only see power. And that's whether they're trying to take it from you or trying to prevent it or trying to help you. They're only going to recognize you if you have some sort of power. And with
And what
that,
power is that,
and with that, you need your army, and that's the only way I can explain it. And so when I
Bingo?
go, can you stop?
I'm sorry. I'm just saying I agree with you.
Thank you.
Dana, I don't
So
think
when
he
I
agrees
see
with
these
what you're talking about.
so when I
No, I
see these
do.
organizations, when I see organizations on the ground, whether it's in New York, I see them in Georgia, and other places, they are building up an army now. And so, and that's, so when I say the conversation on these X spaces needs to change, um it's not about talking tactics, but I just think the conversation, because honestly, I don't care if people disagree with me on this, I do hear too much victim mentality. I really do. But all right, who was next? It was X, and then I'm gonna go to George.
What
Let
about
me know when
body?
I can
Oh,
What,
I'm
what,
sorry,
what
when I
about
can go
body.
body
ahead
I'm
up?
and
so
chime
sorry.
in.
Body,
Body,
body, you're
body,
next.
X, and George.
Yeah, peace to the space. I came in to balance out the energy because it sounded like a lot of older, disconnected people. So I just wanted to like give a little bit of balance. Look,
Who are you?
somebody asked a
I'm
question the
sorry.
other.
Who are you? Who are you?
I'm body. I'm body.
So who? You said you coming in here to balance what?
Like dag Dana. Can I get a joke off? I'm
Oh, that was
peace
a
to you.
joke.
Peace
Okay.
to you,
Well,
Dana.
then you
Peace to the
need to
rest of
come
the
on. You
space.
need to
It
have
was
a
a
better
joke. It was a
punchline.
joke.
Then
God
you
damn.
need to have a better punchline because that was
All
real
right, all
weak.
right, all right, cool. Copy. Look. All right. So to answer your question, do black conservatives overlook racism? Yes, they have to, right? Because there's nothing more American than racism. So much so that the Nazi Party of Germany got their racism shit from here. Like we could go from Margaret Sanger down to just the whole eugenics program and shit like that. That's American. Racism is American. So if you are gonna be a concern, you have to overlook it to do business deals, right? Like you could say it's a bad example, false equivalence, but Bill Mayer or whatever his name is, he had a private meeting with Trump, and then Trump was there. He met him. He gave him a thing with all the insults had that he said to Trump, and he signed the shit. Right? That's a Jewish white man to a white man, whatever, however y'all want to say it. I don't even get into the stupid shit, right? But on the premise of Carmelo Anthony, the brother Ivory had an amazing space the other day. He ran that for a minute, um, and he asked the question. He said, "What is he guilty of?" Right? And my answer at first, I didn't know. I just told my story. It was it has some similarities to the situation, not exactly the same, but basically what I said was I came to the realization that he was guilty of holding his nuts. The man is guilty of holding his nuts because if it was a white boy, if it was a white kid, the only thing that y'all would say is, "Well, he shouldn't have tried. He shouldn't have touched him. Shouldn't have touched him." Now you got people over here asking to give him the death penalty because what? Because he's black and he should have stayed in his place. That's because that's the energy that y'all are giving. You could not say it if you want to. The energy y'all are giving is you nigger. Like that's the energy y'all are giving. Right? Part of my language. I'm just the energy is okay. You should have stayed in your place, boy. Like, but really, in reality, if it's two of y'all versus one of me, and y'all each got collectively over 100 pounds on me, try me, see what happens, and then you know what I mean? Because honestly, when it comes down to it, the law says what it says. In actuality, it is innocent until proven guilty. So for y'all to jump out the window and be like, this person needs to get this, and this before the evidence is really played out, and we just going on hypotheticals, it's kind of crazy to me to play a nonpartisan situation and be like, in this situation, I would have did this or that. Okay, but the level of vitriol and the death threats and all that shit that's come behind it, it just don't make no sense. You know what I'm saying? But in reality, like the identity politics is not gonna get nobody nowhere. So I'm not saying that you wrong for that. It's just like nah, bro. That's definitely a case of if he was white, I'll be saying the same thing. That's my point. If he was white, my answer would still be the same thing. It was two of them, and they had no reason running up on him, and they got what they deserved. It just
So,
is what it is.
and Bonnie, you think the jury's going to say the same thing? They're going to say it's proportional and reasonable.
I never lived in Texas to be able to tell you how they gonna operate. I think there's a level of animosity towards black people there that doesn't exist so much in other places, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I disagree with you there as far as, well, I never lived in Texas either, but I think that people don't, people, for lack of a better words here, people don't give Southern states of today as much credit. Because I said this before in a space earlier in the week. If he's going to get a fair trial in Texas, then he would in New Jersey, right today. If he was in New Jersey, he will get a better trial, a fair trial in Texas. If this,
What you think would happen to him in New Jersey?
well, first of all, he would have he they if we had the death penalty, that would definitely be on the table. Definitely life without parole. They'll throw the book at them because they don't have I think it's under 15. You, no matter how horrendous the crime is, you could never be charged as an adult. But over that, they have the option, let's say between 15 and 17, they have the option to charge you as an adult. It's, put it like this, they give a lot of leeway to the prosecution and DA in New Jersey.
Well,
Everyone
Dana,
is in,
listen.
everybody
What,
is, wait, well, let me
go ahead.
just
I'm
say this
sorry.
and you go, Peter. Everybody is in bed when you talk about the judges and the DA and the prosecutors, defense attorneys and the prosecutors. South Jersey is different from North Jersey. South Jersey judges and lawyers and prosecutors don't like fucking with the judges and lawyers from North Jersey. It is pure corruption. So when you see Alina Habba saying, "Oh, she's going for the top dog," Governor Phil Murphy, I understand that. So he's going to get a fair trial in Texas as opposed to New Jersey, i.e., a northern blue state. And people,
Uh, uh,
go
Yeah,
ahead.
Dana, they said they're waving up. Lena Hubba actually just, so I don't know if you guys have been following this. There's a case in New Jersey of a 14-year-old who killed a Newark police officer about a month ago.
Yeah,
And
but he's
the
a
Fed,
Judy.
right, but the feds are saying they're going to pick up the case and charge him as an adult.
And you see the bullshit there, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's I'm saying that it's bullshit because you have a state law in place for a reason. Why? Because 14 and under doing something as horrendous as that, you got a machine gun. Where the hell he get that machine gun from? So the people, that illegal gun that he had, those people who traffic it, these illegal guns into this country, into this state, into this urban black community, none of those people are going to be held accountable, but a fucking 14-year-old, because of his social economic status, which 9 times out of 10 led him to be out in the streets thinking he was a thug, he's going to get nailed to the damn cross. Is that
Well,
justice?
supposedly, Dana, it was a gang initiation that he
Whatever the
was he
hell it
was
was,
trying to get initiated. Yeah.
whatever the hell it was, there are multiple hands that should be nailed at the cross. Because how did that illegal gun get in the state, get in the country, get in the hands of a 14-year-old? See, those
Well,
people, that's what the point that I'm trying to make here is, you going after, you want to, the Fed's going to pick up this case. Okay, you lock him up, you throw away the key. They're still going to be killing other people with illegal guns in this country. But the feds or the FBI or federal government, even our state government, a lot of times they know the culprits behind that and they don't do nothing. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. So when we talk about these blue states, trust me, they're more racist than Texas. That's the point that I'm just trying to make.
I, I agree with you, Dana. The only thing is, I don't agree with you. I think we need more guns. I think everyone should
No, we
carry
don't
at
need
least
more. We
three
don't
fire.
need.
We
Yeah,
need more
100%.
guns, more tanks.
100%.
We
we
don't
should have a
need. We
thousand
don't
guns.
need illegal guns. And I
What?
the
But
and
what's
the
an illegal
how
gun,
these
Dana?
guns are coming. And it's one thing to say. See, you do have, first of all, we do have the Second Amendment. You have the right to bear arms, but it depends on what state you live in. That's gonna allow you to a certain extent. So don't say we need more guns. We have enough guns. You have a right to own a gun. So that's a dead
Yeah, but I don't
argument
think
right
I
What
don't
there.
about
think
So
they should.
Dana,
I think
do you
felons.
think
I
that?
think felons should own guns after they finish serving their time. What do you think about that?
Well,
Facts.
was it a felon or a violent felon? Why? No,
It doesn't matter.
no, it
It
should
doesn't matter.
matter.
They
That should
finished
be
serving their
that
time.
should be a punishment. Now, I think people should vote if you are a felon, but the fact is that if you are a violent felon and you got put away because you were selling a whole bunch of guns and that's what you use as a weapon to kill somebody, that should be your lifelong punishment, that you should never be able to own a gun again because you didn't own it in the
wasn't
first
his
place.
I
time?
disagree with you.
Wasn't the time that he served his restitution for that?
That's the time you serve, but also there's also repercussions. Why you should not be allowed to continue to be a gun. Listen, unless who's going to determine that this person psychologically is reformed and not going to pick up a gun and shoot people again. So I mean, listen, that's a whole nother space and a whole nother argument. But Peter, I disagree, and you way off when you saying that, oh, guns should be legal. They are legal.
No, what I'm
Before you
saying is
move
I
on,
don't think there
Machine
please,
should be
guns
the
are not
restrictions.
legal.
Dana, do
Dana, I
you
don't think we
think
should have the
that?
restrictions that we see in New Jersey. They're trying to pass a bill now that says they're going to put you in jail if you if you just have the plans to be able to print a 3D gun. I don't even understand how that would pass constitutional muster as far as the First Amendment goes. So New Jersey is like Nazi Germany when it comes to guns. It's insane and it needs to
So what
change.
does that say?
Yeah. So to that
That
point, right?
says
Do
that
you
you
see it
need
that way
to.
when it
That
comes to the
says that
jury?
you wait one second, buddy. That says that you need to petition to your legislation. That's why
Amen.
local
And that's
politics
that's what
is
I want to
very
put together.
important.
Yeah, absolutely, Dana. You're right.
So getting
And stop voting Democrat.
whatever. So go ahead and body land your plane, and then I need to go to X and I need to go to George.
I'm pretty much landed. I was just
Okay,
gonna
thank
ask
you.
you, do you see it that way with the jury as well though? Because that was my thing. I'm not saying with the
The jury
you
in
know
Texas.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it has to be a jury of his peers, and if the defense feel as
Come
though
on.
his peers is not going to, he's not going to have a jury of his peers in that particular city, then that's why defense always recommend to move the case. So again, we have to wait to see what the evidence is and what the defense is going to do. So again, they have the option to put on the table, well, he's not going to get a fair trial with a jury of his peers in this particular city because of these variables. So let's move it and it has to be approved. That's also an option.
Yeah, it's called a change of venue, body. And to answer your question, based upon the facts that I see right now, I don't think a jury's going to say it's proportional or reasonable.
All right, so I want to go to Exton George.
Dana, real quick, when I was down as a listener, I saw Art's hand go down and back up. I think he's back.
Okay.
Are
Yeah,
you
I
are
am
you in the
back.
room with us?
Yeah, been back. You can y'all hear me?
Well,
We can hear you.
we can hear you now.
Can hear you now.
Well, just let me know when it's my
All
turn.
right, let me go to X and then George, and then we'll come to you, Art, and then we'll start wrapping it up. So go ahead, X.
All right, greetings, everybody. I'll be pretty quick. I will add, just as far as the last comment, violent felons should have their gun rights once you served your sentence. If you're out on the street, you should have your rights. Um, as somebody who does identify as a Black conservative, on a grand scale, yes, Black conservatives overlook racism. They do it all the time to fit in. Um, I did want to respond, though. A gentleman earlier said that was commenting that about Black people. Their comments on Carmelo were just kind of taken up for him without the facts or anything. And I really think like a lot of people, a lot of Black people defending Carmelo is really just reactionary because all the criticism of Carmelo like was paired with just blatant racism. So instead of just like saying, "Hey, this is the fact. This is what happened," it was nigger this, nigger that, everything, like all the words you could hear. So like it was just like instantly defensive mode. And that's really all I got to add.
Appreciate your submission.
Okay. Hey, George.
We're going.
Hey,
Who are we going to? George?
can y'all hear me?
I
We can
can.
hear you.
Oh, I'll say this. I was listening, and I often say when we had these conversations, especially with white people, um, whoever said that white people were psychologically fit to even have conversations with Black people about race in the first place. And the reason why I say that because a lot of times white people have their opinions about us, Chicago. Often if they say, "Well, we're not racist no more," they turn around and tell us how we should feel, how we should respond. Right? You guys get to be our judges, our police officers, just in positions of power. And y'all never went through no psychological evaluation to see if y'all was fit based off of the way America was structured, right? It's always been a black and white racist thing in this country. And I think white people are victims of racism as well. Um, so when we had these conversations, most of the time, white people don't even understand how psychologically damaged a lot of us are. Um, that's the one aspect of it. That's the one aspect. The second aspect is based off of what the title is. Yeah, a lot of Black conservatives overlook racism because they have to, in order to fit in. They have to be what I call cracker friendly. They have to. They have to. They have to be able to make white people feel comfortable. So that's why a lot of them go over there. They got white spouses. They don't represent anything of Black culture or Black community when you see them. Now, I often say I have conservative views. You could be conservative and still have your Black culture, have your Black wife, reinstill the Black family, reinstill Black dignity. You don't have to run over there to them and acquiesce to them and make them feel comfortable and talk down on your community. Whereas though now you become the mouthpiece for them. I noticed when this case happened, and conservatives like ABL, Anthony Bryan Logan, and other white conservatives took the stance of Austin should have kept his hands to himself. Man, the racism came out of. I mean, it was just coming from everywhere, just everywhere. So we're not in this racial utopia. A lot of white people in America still view us the way that they always viewed us. And it hasn't changed. America hasn't went out of their way to change the curriculums and the school systems. They haven't done things to make. They haven't went out of their way to make things right, where the children coming up will see each other as equals and not the way we were raised and the way we see each other. So racism and the way we see each other is not going to change. That's why like it's hard having conversations with white folks because white folks know what I'm saying. So they'll try to say certain things. To, what's the word I'm looking for? You guys have a way of trying to tell us how we should feel, how we should. Well, I wasn't there. You wasn't in slavery. You wasn't there, and I think it's insulting. I think that is insulting. I think that black people, when we come in these spaces, we already know what the deal is. The problem, I land here. The problem is we got three black communities. You got the elite blacks, you got the middle class blacks, and then the underbelly. And no matter how much we complain about white folks, we don't come together to build anything together. And in the Miseducation of Negro, Chapter 6, Carter G. Woodson talked about this 100 years ago. The elite blacks, or the blacks with education and know-how, don't give a damn about black people for the most part. Most of them, they can't, they leave the community. And if we say that we're experiencing racism, we don't have no friends. The only people that's going to fix this problem is us. And I just land there.
Appreciate you, George. Um, do anybody want to rebuttal or um before I forget, give me 1 second before I forget. I need to say thank you to Miss AB. She sent me a cash app, and thank you to Halamel. He sent in a super chat, and he says, "Dana, I am still waiting for my 40 acres and a mule. Go get it. Go get it." Because I said I'm not paying back my student loans. That's my reparations right there. And yes, I would tell not the IRS. I would tell um Department of Education that I would tell the federal government. I tell all the this is my reparations. I'm not paying you. The most I would do is $5 a month. Yeah. So
Yo, Dana, I said the same thing. But I
At
did,
least I give them
it
60.
worked
God
out,
damn,
Dana.
five.
Keep speaking it.
that's yeah, 60. That's too much. That's too much.
That's
And
too
I don't.
much.
And
All right, let
honestly,
me go down to 10.
I don't give them nothing. I think the Biden administration was able to wipe it out. So and yeah, so
Are
I
you
would say that's
thanking the
half of my
Biden administration
reparations.
for
That's
this
half of them.
for
Now
forgiving your loan?
my other half is the IRS. That needs to be wiped out because I owe the IRS. So that's my other half of reparations. But I really listen. I appreciate what you're saying, George, and I agree. White people sometimes, without even saying it, they feel as though we need to make them feel comfortable in conversations, and that's what I was saying to. So when someone, I think it was Choke earlier, he was like, the DNA of slavery is in black people. I don't deny that, but the DNA of being the enslaver or being part of a lineage to where someone in your family, not saying that you are an oppressor, but you benefited from that. That's in your DNA too, white people.
Right. Dana, can I say one more thing real quick?
But
Hmm.
Dana, can we delineate between white and like Sicilians, immigrants, Irish, German, or
No,
you're
because a lot of
including?
Sicilians,
No, because
no,
you came here and assimilated. No.
no, because a lot of Sicilians and the Irish was the ones that carried out a lot of the plans for the elite whites. They was just as racist, so they can get the honorary status, especially the Irish on blacks. So no.
Now let me ask you this, Peter, real quick. Then I'm gonna come to you, George. Peter, do you acknowledge your African lineage and DNA and your Sicilianism?
Absolutely. That's why this is my kinfolk here, and that's why I'm fighting for. I'm a reparationist.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, George.
Um, the last part I forgot with the George Zimmerman thing, right? When a lot of white folks got behind George Zimmerman, and they were painting. We all saw it. They were painting that young man as all kinds of nasty and negative views, even his father. But we all heard the audio when the police officer told Zimmerman to basically back away and don't approach. Right now, what I'm hearing now is that when Austin Metcalf went at Carmelo, he didn't have a weapon. So he should have just they should in the fight. Maybe if he grabbed him, he shouldn't have stabbed him. He should have used his hands, and the kids would have lived to fight another day. This is the argument that a lot of people are making, right? Well, George Zimmerman knew that that young man didn't have a firearm, and he was still told to stand down, right? He approached the guy, a fight ensued. He could have shot his gun in the air. He could have pulled his gun out and made him back up. He could have walked away. He could have did anything. White America knew this. They still supported Zimmerman. They gave him all kinds of money. He went to court when the jury was fair and still was found not guilty. So a lot of times when we have these conversations, y'all don't take into account what that does to us, what that does to our psyche. So because then y'all come right around when something like this happened and say, well, he had a weapon, but Austin didn't. He should have just fought him. Well, Zimmerman should have just fought that kid too.
Cognitive dissonance I was talking about earlier.
Yeah. So this is the hypocrisy, and this is why I say you guys are victim of racism too, because you've been conditioned to view us a certain way. And I'm telling you, if I had to go stand in front of a judge today, I have nothing to protect me. It's no way of knowing if that judge is calling me a nigga under his breath or have a preconceived notion about me, because y'all never been re-educated on things. Nobody has. It's just say
I'm
go
White
to
sorry.
people
court.
are not
I'm sorry to
victims
cut in on
of
you, George,
racism. They're
but you
only
want to know what's crazy,
beneficiaries.
George? Right now, as a teacher, I teach in Chicago public school, and
It's I think I think George, if you're not speaking, just mute up.
Yeah,
Um
because it's giving feedback on the
yeah,
mic.
it's giving feedback. And you know what? I forgot about Last Black. So HB, I'm gonna have to hold your rebuttal. I need to go to Last Black. I need to go to Last Black because he never spoke. Sorry.
Hey, thank you, Dana. I appreciate it. Hey, I'm a little older than a lot of folks speaking here. I'm gonna give you a quick background, just really fast, and then I'm gonna say my piece, and I'll be done. Unlike a lot of people here, I was a United States Border Patrol agent. I was a federal agent. I've been a United States Army officer, and I fought in combat. I'm a black man. My dad is a my dad, rest his soul, was a black United States Army soldier. My people go back in this country to the 1700s. White people, and I mean all white people, I don't want to hear any excuses. White people are beneficiaries of racism. To answer the question of this space, yes, all black conservatives have to overlook racism because it is a requirement for them not to acknowledge racism to be in the parties, the political parties that support